up. Dress me like a lamb for the slaughter, pour me in your cup. Should've known we'd bring trouble, and trouble gonna find you here. Trouble. I was one way when you found me, I was not the one you see. And the only thing that happened was the stranger in between. And you can say your eyes are open, you might think your hands are clean, till the wind blows in, the dirt kicks up in ways you've never seen. Yeah, trouble. Yeah, trouble. Use me till I'm scraping the bottom, make my well run dry. Shake them coins, I know where you got them. Kiss me bye. Should've known we'd bring trouble, trouble gonna find you here. Yeah, trouble. I was one way when you found me, I was not the one you see. And the only thing that happened was this stranger in between. You can say your eyes are open, you might think your hands are clean, till the wind blows in, the dirt kicks up in ways you've never seen. Yeah, trouble. Yeah, trouble. Trouble ain't bad, bad is good. I said trouble ain't bad if bad is good. Oh yeah, you'd make a little trouble if you understood. You know trouble ain't bad if the bad is good.
Hey there. We're on. We're live. I'm in a room with several other people, guests who will be coming soon. And right now, while you are watching, if you wouldn't mind saying something, even if it's just where you're from or the number one, whatever it is, get that chat going, because once people start commenting and once you start sharing and liking and subscribing, and by the way, tonight's live stream is you can only ask questions or comment if you are a subscriber. So make sure, this is on YouTube at least. So if you are on YouTube, make sure that you have subscribed if you want to ask a question. Even if you're not a big fan of the show and you want to ask some sort of like negative question or challenging question, I'm sure we're going to get some of those tonight. We'll try to answer them. But even if you must, if you're really eager to do that, you're going to have to do that awful thing and hit that subscribe button. And then if you want, after this live stream is over, you can hit unsubscribe to, if you want to protest in some way. But tonight you have to be subscribed to make a comment so that we can manage somewhat the number of comments. I'm going to get to as many as I can, as many questions as I can answer. Got a lot to cover tonight. Tonight's a bit of what I would call a family chat. Okay. So if you are new to The Chosen, welcome. We love that you're here. But I would say the majority of tonight's live stream is going to be stuff that is about where we're at as an organization, where we're at as a family, some things that we're going through that are challenging right now, some fun things, a couple of things that I'm going to share with you in terms of what we need right now. So this is what I would call a bit of a family chat. So we've got a lot to cover. Here's some of what we're going to be covering tonight. Is we've got two significant things that I want to talk to you about. One of them is slightly a problem that I hope you can help with. And then the other one is a fun announcement that's going to shift, like cause a new shift in the direction of the show and in the direction of our efforts to get this show to 1 billion people. It's a pretty significant milestone that I'm excited to share with you. We got an update on some of our recent efforts, including my visit to Liberty, which is really cool. And I'm going to show you just a little bit of that in just a minute. Got a really cool video that we'll be showing near the end of the live stream that kind of recaps season 2 and 2021. I think you'll really love that, especially if you were part of season 2. If you're a big Chosen fan and you want to see just what it looks like, it's going to what that year looked like. It's really cool. And I've got some guests. I've got Jordan Walker Ross, who plays little James. Jordan, just like walk over here real quick, just to wave, just to give a little taste of. Hello. Yeah, that's a taste. He said hello, but there's going to be more when he comes. We're going to bring on Sharma, who is currently waiting patiently. He's not here in the room because he doesn't live in Texas, but I'm going to bring him on. And then we've also got our production designer and my college roommate, Jim Cunningham. You know him as James Richard Cunningham, which is the most formally British, old school name ever. He's our production designer. We're going to give you an update on what's going on with our production design and our whole schedule. But we got a lot to cover tonight. It's going to be really fun. First things first, we do want to address briefly what's going on in the world, which is, of course, what's happening in Ukraine is at the forefront of so many people's minds. And I wanted to read you a note that we got. We posted on Friday just a picture of the fact that in the app, when you go to season 1 or season 2, and you click on audio and subtitles, when you open up an episode, and you'll see in subtitles Ukrainian as one of the languages. Did you know that we have tens of thousands of people in Ukraine who have downloaded the Chosen app and who have watched the Chosen in some fashion? And so we consider them, of course, part of our family. And we got this note after we posted that. Someone said, love your post. This is from Laura. Love your post about Ukrainian Chosen. Last summer, we had a Ukrainian orphan, 12 years old, stay with us. And we showed her the Chosen in Russian, which was really well done. The subtitling and the dubbing. We couldn't share the gospel with her due to the language barrier, but she watched The Chosen and she loved it to pieces, begged for it every evening, 12 years old, and said it helped her sleep. Sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes a bad thing. But in this case, it helped her sleep. And she was drawing pictures of Jesus all over our whiteboard. I pray she's remembering this series now. Thank you for all you've done, from Laura. I thought you would appreciate hearing that. You have everything to do with that. The only reason we're able to get into these other countries is because you pay it forward and allow them an opportunity to watch it. The reason we're able to translate it is because we have these amazing volunteer translators who stay up long hours to get this translated into other languages. And right now, more than ever, our hearts and prayers, of course, are with the people of Ukraine as they're going through a lot. And so there's always that connection that we have to people around the world through the Chosen app, which is in every single country in the world. Before I get into this thing I want to talk to you about that's more significant, I want to share with you just a couple of housekeeping items on the app. So the Chosen app is the hub. Okay. This is where millions and millions of people have downloaded the app. This is the best place to watch it. It's got the best quality. It's where most of the people pay it forward. It's where most people purchase gifts. It's where you're going to get your thank you notes, for example, when you do pay it forward. So one of the things that I wanted to share that's really important is what I'd like you to do right now, if you can, or you can do it some other time. If you're watching on the app, then don't do it right now. Just write this down. But I want you to change your notification settings to make sure that you are getting notified when we have updates for you from the app. I know that a lot of times you're going to click the button to not receive updates from most websites, but for the Chosen app, I think it's going to benefit you. We don't spam you, but Colin, if you could play that animation, this is how you do it. It's very simple. It takes less than a minute. And it just ensures that once a week or so, you'll hear from us when we remind you of something and we want to let you know of a new development. This is one of our best ways to communicate with you. Okay, so you're going to go to the Chosen app. You're going to click on that icon in the lower right that has like the little head and shoulders thing, and then you're going to rejoice at the end after you've changed it to turn your notifications on. So just click on that little head and shoulder thing in the lower right. Now, this is also how, if you have never done this, if you've never paid it forward, or if you've never purchased a gift or anything like that, and you just have the app, well, you can set up an account. And when you set up an account, we don't spam you, I promise. But this is how you get emails from us. So we send out like an email a week or so, maybe an email every 2 weeks. When we're about to do a live stream, we give you updates. And we also let you know when we have a new gift item. We let you know when we have a prayer request. We try to protect this a lot. In fact, I have people on the team sometimes and outside experts who say, well, you need to email a lot. 3 or 4 times a week is what's best. We say, no, we don't want to be bothering people too much. We want it so that when you do get an email, it actually means something. So if you are not getting emails from us, you are missing out on a lot of important updates that we'd like to give. So that would be really helpful, not only for you, but for us to be able to reach more people when we have something important to share like we do tonight. So just set up an account. I promise you don't have to if you don't want to. It's not, you can still watch the show free if you don't set up an account, but setting up an account allows us to get in touch with you more easily and allows you to get in touch with us and us to get in touch with you. I don't remember what I said, but either way. So that would be really helpful if you would do that. And also make sure you update your app. Okay. So that means just sometimes going to the app store, wherever you got the app. And if you are not updated, you will click the update button in the app store and it will just make sure that your app is fresh and has all the nice new features that we are bringing out regularly, or just sometimes it's just improving it, just making sure that it has fewer issues with it, fewer glitches. All right. So here's the first thing that I want to talk to you about tonight. I won't mince words, but we are struggling a little bit. I'm struggling a little bit, to be honest with you. We're trying to get season 3 going. I announced last month that we're aiming for April 18th or 25th. That is still the case. We are still intending to begin filming the week of April 25th. It might delay 1 week, hoping not to. It might delay 1 week, but we are going to really hold the line on starting filming April 25th. But here's why that's a problem. So when we made the decision, we're going to stick to this because we need to get season 3 out there as soon as possible. There are so many reasons why season 3 needs to come out as soon as possible. I'm not even going to get into all of them. But the thing is, not everything is ready for season 3. I mean, as you know, and I'm going to give you an update in just a minute or two. It's going to be a few minutes, more longer than that. I'm going to give you an update. We're going to talk to Jim Cunningham, our production designer, about the status of the sets that are being built and the sound stage that's being built. But I mean, just a couple of days ago, for example, we had an ice storm in Texas. Now by storm, I mean, like there was a handful of ice particles on the roads. I'm from Chicago. It was nothing, but for Texas, it's red alert. But that shut down, construction just for a day. Every day counts. And COVID was a big issue. We lost people to COVID for a week at a time or so. The supply chain has been an issue. So things have been slowing us down. And, but yet we said, no, we need to start as close to on time as possible. So what that means is that the season then gets stretched out. So sometimes it means we have to take a hiatus in the middle of the season to give us time to build some of the things that need to get ready. Some of our cast and crew can't necessarily work for 17 straight weeks, So the hiatus is an important thing, but hiatuses cost money. Every day we take off costs a lot of money. I mean, every day of filming, every day that once the train leaves the station, every day costs, minimum 6 figures. And so anytime we take a day off, anytime we stretch things out at all, that costs more money than we anticipated. And our desire to get you the season earlier is sometimes at conflict with our ability to afford some of the things that means. And so here's another thing that is causing us to be a little bit behind financially. My writers and I wrote too much. So you remember when you were watching season 2 and not just almost every single episode would end and people go, no, why isn't it longer? Now, part of that's a little bit deceptive because some of the episodes were longer. They just felt shorter because I think you like them so much. At least I think. But sometimes, some episodes are a little shorter than others. Well, this season 3, we wrote, my producer and our assistant director was like, all right, we have 15 extra days of filming this year than last year. And I'm like, wait, that's really expensive. They're like, yeah, it's expensive. I'm like, why is it 15 days? What are you doing? They're like, well, because you wrote 40 more pages than last year. And even at like 6-7 pages a day of filming, that adds up. So I went to my co-writers and we're like, we might have to cut some scenes. We might have to cut some entire sections of the script here to make this work. And we're like, but we don't want to do that. We're reading through the script and everything that we are thinking we should cut shouldn't be cut because I think it's really good. People who've read it think it's really good. And so we're like, well, we don't really want to cut anything. Like, it's okay if there's 40 extra pages this season. They're like, all right, well, fine. Well, That's expensive. And what we find ourselves, the position we find ourselves in often with this show is in a much different position than, a show like Game of Thrones or a show like This Is Us or a show like, think of a show that is popular on Netflix or on HBO Max or on NBC or something like that. And they have tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, that when something like this comes up, when they're delayed a week or two, or when there's 40 extra pages, that's a rounding error in their accounting. And for us, it means entire days of filming that we might not be able to afford. And so it puts us in this position of going, well, we've made the show free. People have the choice to pay it forward. So if we need more money to afford the costs for an increased season, and that also includes cast and crew, and we want them to be taken care of as much as possible. But we get to a point where you go, all right, we've done everything we can. We've taken care of our cast and crew as much as possible. We're trying to get it to the place where they don't have to take a bunch of other jobs to make ends meet, that we can kind of take care of them year round if possible. And we're trying to do that where we can. And sometimes you reach that ceiling that other shows don't reach, where we're like, we've got as much as we can get right now, considering the people who pay it forward. Here's the important thing. Did you know that, and this is an estimate, but less than 5% of the people who've seen The Chosen have actually paid for it? Now, in many ways, that's a good thing. That means that so many people, millions and millions of people all over the world, are watching this show for free because so many can't afford to pay for it. And that is awesome news. And we're doing everything we can to keep that train moving and to make sure that everyone is served and that we get languages paid for and translations done. And we have volunteers who do it without getting paid because they're so desperate to get this to more people. We want to get this to as many people as possible. But the reality is, we're probably the only show in the history of the universe in which over 90% of the people who watch it don't pay anything for it. So what do we do with that? What do we do with that when we've got just a limited number of people who actually do choose to pay? We're not a nonprofit. We're not a ministry. We're a for-profit company that just offers optional payment. You can pay for it if you want to. But what happens when people are paying it forward and they're doing a great job and we're doing well and The Chosen is doing well? We are healthy. We're like, by no means is this like a plea or is this like a woe is me kind of thing. This is just the simple reality of the fact that, like, we're in season 3. This is a big show. This is a first century show. Sets cost money, wardrobe costs money, cast and crew costs money, days cost money. And we've reached that point for season 3 where it's like, we're at our edge. We have no more. And if we want to pull this off, then we're going to have more somehow. So what do we do in those cases? Do we just say, all right, we need to stop our efforts internationally. We need to pull back as much as we can to just be able to afford the things that we are doing? We could do that, but I'm not so sure that's the best for what the world is wanting. Every single day, countries around the world are saying, we got the show, we got The Chosen, and we just broadcast it here, and now we want more. Can you help us? Can you give us social media help? Can you get it translated? And we're like, we can't. We don't have the resources to do that. We're putting all of our resources as much as we can into production and into our company. We have a growing company. So, for example, I don't know if you knew this at all, but The Chosen LLC, The Chosen Company, is separate from the overall product. So when you see like the app, that's done by Angel Studios. They're our distribution partner. Okay, so they do a great job and they're distributing the show in the app and they're building the app. But then we've got our own company. We're responsible for quite a bit, to make the show, for our social media, for what I'm doing to you right now, for the crew that's in this room right now, our special projects, all those things that we're doing to spread the show around the world, our translation teams, our marketing teams, all of that. And then now we're trying to expand internationally. Some of you may know Julie Molina, who's one of our shining stars in our organization and has been an executive assistant project manager for the last, year or two. And we're shifting her responsibilities towards Brazil because we want to plant a flag in Brazil because Brazil is demanding more and more and asking more and more. We want The Chosen more. And we want to set up and do in Brazil the same thing that we're doing in the United States. We need to resource that. Well, that resourcing is not going to come from paying it forward. That comes from gift sales. So gift sales keep our company going and allow us to, we now have 27 full-time employees. Actually, it's probably closer to 30 now. It's growing every month. And we're not going to let pay it forward money go into that We want pay it forward money to go towards the things that I'll mention in just a second. But the primary thing that pay it forward covers is production. So that's the actual filming and the actual post-production and all of those things that make the show. So the making of the show is paid for by pay it forward money, and then the rest is paid for by gift money. Well, we'd love to take some of that gift money and maybe we stop hiring people. Maybe we keep small. We take some of that money and put it towards production. We can't. So that's where we're at right now. And I wanted to share with you some of the reasons why we're in that situation, and also share with you how pay it forward works. And I won't take too much of your time. I know that some of this isn't, entertaining, but tonight's not one of those. I mean, we're going to have some entertaining things tonight, I promise. They're coming up soon, but it's not all about entertainment. I just want to share with you what we're dealing with here. So like the month of February was down significantly in pay it forwards, down significantly in gift sales, compared especially to January. Now, some of that's to be expected after a big, awesome Christmas season. But compared to the number of people who are watching the show and the number of countries we're trying to reach and all that stuff, pay it forward was down pretty strongly compared to usual. When people do pay it forward, I'll give you this funnel. This is what happens. So let's just say X amount of money comes in for pay it forward. Right off the top, 25% goes towards marketing. That's automatic. Okay. So that's an agreement that we have with Angel Studios, who this is how they do with all their projects, which is, you watch it for free. If you choose to pay it forward, 25% comes off the top, right off the bat for marketing to keep it spreading the word, keep us able to let people know. And when you say, well, why don't I ever see, TV ads? Why don't I see you guys on, why don't I see commercials? I mean, we were just at Liberty University and some people were like, I just heard about The Chosen a couple of weeks ago. Why aren't I seeing it with other things? Well, it's because we don't have a huge marketing budget. It's 25% of whatever comes in from pay it forward. And of course, there's some that goes to costs and building the app and engineering and all of that. And Angel Studios, our distributor, obviously has to get paid. And then the rest, after all those logistics and legal stuff, I mean, there's lots of costs that go into it, goes towards production. And I've got some of these notes here because I wanted to make sure that I got this right. But the kind of costs we have to cover when it comes to production, equipment, obviously very expensive, cast and crew, travel and lodging. I mean, those are the kinds of things you don't always think about. Like we have to fly in and then house for months at a time, a lot of our crew. Union fees, because now, season 3, we're union with our crew and we've always union with our cast. And so you're paying those fees as well, which we're happy to do. Trailers and vehicles to have people on, when the actors, need a place to go on set. Construction costs, writing the scripts, producing all the production costs, post-production, which is happening while we're filming. There's also an entire company in Los Angeles that's handling all the footage, and they're an entire post-production team that is editing and coloring and doing all the audio stuff. That happens for months and months at a time. And then this year, because we have some of the stuff that takes place in Utah, some of the stuff that takes place in Texas, some of it takes place in different parts of Texas. Sometimes we have to rent a studio. So we're all over the place. Every time we travel, every time we move, that's a significant cost. We call it a company move. And we have to take the entire production and go get into new hotels and new housing and lodging and storage and all that. So it is a big deal. We are a huge show, and yet we aren't financed as though we're a huge show. So and as I mentioned, our company is growing and we're expanding our social media teams. You know that we have multiple people assigned just to each platform so that you can get your questions answered. We try to respond to every single comment that we can, both in our inboxes and under each of the posts. So we have a social media team for Facebook and for Instagram and for TikTok and for Twitter. And we're trying to keep growing that. And yet at the end of the day, none of that happens if the show doesn't work and if production isn't being taken care of. And if the show isn't awesome, if the show isn't being led by God to impact people's lives, then the rest of it is just spinning our wheels. And so we really need season 3 to be everything that it can be and everything that God wants it to be. And so anyway, I just wanted to let you know that. And if by some chance you do have the means and the desire to pay it forward, then you can do so at the app. And one of the cool things about the app when you do that, and I get these notifications every day, is thank you notes. So when someone watches an episode and it says, this episode was paid forward by Dallas in Texas, you get on my app here, you can't see it, I guess, but at the bottom, there's the notifications and it comes up with I can click on thank yous, and I get all these. See if you can see this. It's probably too, yeah, it's out of focus, but people saying thank you from all over the country and from all over the world, giving these notes. In fact, someone just said, thank you, I am poor, and it's nice to see a program that's not charging me. I just found that right just now. God should never cost anyone anything. Well, the show does cost though. So people do have to, but she can't, or he can't, I don't know who it is. And so the way to do that is to pay it forward through the app or through the website at thechosen.tv. And again, if you can't, if you don't want to, if you choose not to, that is up to you. By no means do we ever force it. Do I ever beg? I'm not begging. I'm just letting you know the situation, and you can choose to do with that what you will. But recognize that we can't ever get to a place where people all over the world are just paying it forward like they do in the States, because again, in most countries, the app itself, maybe the episodes are translated, but the app isn't translated. So they don't have the means to pay it forward necessarily. And some of them don't have, even if the app was translated, they wouldn't have the means to do so. So those of us who can pay it forward, sometimes if we want the show to grow, if we want it to get to more people, we have to step up our efforts. So I'm just letting you know that. All right. So what I'd love to do is I want to bring on Sean Sharma. Sean Sharma plays Shmuel. Say that 10 times fast. Sean plays Shmuel, and he is one of my favorites because he's playing a character who is antagonistic towards Jesus, and yet people love him for some reason. Sean, I don't know what it is. I think they kind of love to hate. I think there's a little bit of that, but that means you're doing your job. But Sean, welcome to the Chosen family, and welcome to tonight's live stream.
I'm so honored to be here with all of you.
Great, thank you. So Julie and Kristen, if you could occasionally, as I'm talking to Sean, if we got some questions for Sean. I know we've had people throughout this week when they've heard that Sean's going to be on have been like, oh, Shmuel, oh, I hate him. And, or, Shmuel, I love him. So if you've got any questions for Sean, you can bring them up. But Sean, let's just talk real quick how you even got to The Chosen. I remember the day you came in to audition, and I believe, was it Shmuel that you auditioned for?
Yeah, initially I got the audition for Simon Peter, and then I got the call back for Shmuel. That's when I actually got a chance to meet you, is when I went down to Beverly's office and we had a chance to meet. And I remember you commented on my Allbirds that I was wearing at the time. And so I was like, all right, cool. He knows the deal. And so, yeah, it was Shmuel that I met you with. Yeah.
And I'm always curious, what about, like when you get cast as a character, or even when you're just preparing an audition, obviously a character who's going to be somewhat antagonistic. Now, again, when the show started, Shmuel was just a super fan for Nicodemus. And over time, he has become more antagonistic towards Nicodemus and ultimately more antagonistic towards Jesus. But when you're studying your character, when you're learning your lines, I mean, you in real life obviously don't have antagonism towards Jesus of Nazareth. How do you put yourself into that place? How do you put yourself into a character in which he might be saying things that you, Sean, wouldn't necessarily say yourself?
Yeah, I think every actor who plays a villain knows you don't judge the character, and you have to put yourself in that character's shoes. And every person, I mean, most people who are seen as villains in their own minds think that they're doing the right thing. And oftentimes some people are doing the right thing, but they just are on the wrong side of history. And so it's very hard sometimes to look at a character like Shmuel and want to judge him harshly, because, I've had so many people write to me or talk to me about how, if I was alive 2,000 years ago, would I have immediately recognized Jesus as the Messiah, or would I too have had questions? And I think that was such a beautiful thing that you and I talked about when we started working on this together, was you giving me the latitude to make Shmuel not like, you even said it, like a mustache twirling bad guy. It's right. Like, there's so many people who are stuck in a rigid way of belief, and Shmuel can remind us to kind of not be stuck in those rigid ways.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing about Shmuel that I think is really important for people to understand, is that Shmuel at the time, people sometimes think of the Pharisees in general as evil. And Pharisee actually just refers to a religious belief. It's not actually like, it wasn't just this club of people like, I'm now officially a Pharisee, therefore I'm now mean, or now I'm judgmental. In fact, Pharisees were beloved by the majority of the people. And what happened was over time, they started taking some of the laws that were there that God had actually given them and just taking them too far. And then when Jesus comes along and says, I'm actually here representing God. And in fact, I am God, I am the Messiah. Well, for someone like Shmuel, who's a passionate Torah believer, and when has a very strong belief about who the Messiah is going to be, and Jesus isn't that, it's not that you have a personal vendetta against Jesus. It's like, you're upsetting my people. Like I'm responsible for these people, and you are messing with their minds. Some of these miracles are fun and dandy, but like they could be dissuading people or distracting people from from the truth, from the true law. Now that leads me to this question from Laura Baird here that says, Sean, it's actually Sean, Shaan, just FYI. I'm sure you've had it spelled Sean thousands of times in your life.
Thanks, Laura. It was probably auto-corrected anyway. It probably wasn't your fault.
Right. What research did you do for the role? So that goes to, have you done additional research into what the Pharisees believed at the time beyond just the script that we give you?
Oh, of course. I mean, I think, talking with my friends also who are very devout and have gone to like I have friends that went to Northwestern who are also investors in the show and stuff. And so, like talking with my friends who also have gone to a lot of Bible studies and talked about this, and watching the Bible Project, those videos online have been amazing because they shed a lot of light on so many different aspects of it. Has been great. Just doing my own like online research has been wonderful. And the Bible roundtables or the chosen roundtables that you've had with have been incredible. I mean, there was one roundtable where I forget who it was who said this. It wasn't the Jewish rabbi. I think it was the pastor who said, like the Pharisees were kind of like the religious experts at the time, and people looked at them with respect, like they understood the Torah better than anyone else. And so when Pharisees started to criticize Jesus, that it kind of threw the population for a loop, like, oh no, what does this mean for me if the Pharisees are also resisting this? And so that really helped me get into the compassionate mindset as well about those that may not see what's in front of them.
Yeah, I just saw this from Story Hour with Miss Barbara. She actually super chatted $50. Thank you, Story Hour with Miss Barbara. That's unnecessary, but very much appreciated. She says, Sean, what is Shmuel teaching you about yourself? Are there things in the playing of this character that have started to impact you in some way?
That's such an interesting question, Miss Barbara, because one of the things that I've really what I've learned about myself from playing Shmuel is that who we see as the bad guy isn't necessarily the bad guy. One of the, like, they may end up wrong, but it doesn't mean they're the bad guy. Like, one of the things that I think we can all relate to is people around us who we think are misguided. And some of them are our friends and family, and we can't judge them too harshly because we still have to live with them. Hopefully we choose to try to work things out with them instead of just abandoning them. And in this case, like somebody could be, I could look at someone and say, I really disagree with where they're coming from, but I also have to have an open mind and be like, in their mind, they think they're doing the right thing. So how can we come together? How can we figure this out together? And in many cases, there's just no bridging that gap, but I don't want it to be because of my lack of trying that there's that gap that exists.
Yeah, that's really, really well said. And I think it's really important today more than ever. I know this sounds like a cliche, but how often are we, especially on social media, we hear someone or see someone say something that we disagree with. And then that means, okay, not only do I disagree with them, but they are now on the other team. I hate the other team. Therefore now I must hate them. And many times they're thinking the same thing about something you've said. And can we find a way to see the person and not just the comment or whatever? And I think that's one of the key things about Shmuel. So I want to close with this. Season 3, you have not read the scripts yet. I know that because I've not sent them to you yet, but they are coming soon to the actors, I promise. But is there something, I'd just be curious if there's something you're actually like in your mind with the direction Shmuel is going. Is there something in season 3 or in future seasons that you think like, I hope it goes this direction, or I think it's going here, or this is how I feel Shmuel is going? Like, what's something that in season 3, when you read those scripts, you're going, I hope to see something like this?
Well, people ask me all the time, what's going to be the trajectory of Shmuel? And I said, only Dallas knows. So it's in his mind and in, Tyler and Ryan's mind about where this is all going to go. But the speculation is that Shmuel isn't going to end up on the right side of any of this stuff in the long term. But so one of the things I fantasized about, and I think we even talked about this briefly when we were on set in Texas together, was I have this fantasy of just Shmuel confronting Jesus and just being despondent, like, please stop coming at us, because we're just doing our best, and you're distracting people from the actual word of the Torah, and you're blaspheming, and you're spreading all this false prophecy. And for like Shmuel to just like really have an explosive interaction where he's trying to stand up for what he thinks is the way it should be, and he just doesn't realize he's on the wrong side of that argument, and that he doesn't have his open eyes to see. And so that's, it'd be fun if I got to yell at Jesus. That would be kind of fun.
Well, I can tell you,
I've already yelled at Jesus in the first season, but
well, that's what I was going to say. You have yelled at Jesus. I'll give this little minor spoiler: is you do have an opportunity in season 3 to talk to Jesus, and it's not yelling. So I'll just say that it's different than what viewers might expect from Shmuel. So I'm not going to say where Shmuel ends up, but the journey to get there, I can promise you, is going to be very interesting, very nuanced, and is going to take full advantage of the skill that Sean brings to the role, because it would be a shame to waste what you've brought by just giving you cliches. And what you and Wasim, who plays Yanni,
I love Wasim.
Yeah, the two of you have brought so many great things to it. So,
and you're giving me such great news to know that I get to act with my brother Jonathan, because we couldn't ask for a better person to be in that role. So I'm excited.
So as you sign off here, anything you just want to share with the viewers? Because I know that just over the last couple of years, you've probably gotten plenty on social media and comments and questions. Just anything you'd like to say to them?
Yeah, I think the main thing is that as actors, we want to tell stories that touch people's lives. And I can't think of another story that touches more lives and is as powerful as the story that I've been blessed to tell with you, Dallas, and all the incredible cast and crew that we have. So I just want to say to everybody who's watching that this is the opportunity and experience of a lifetime. And the work that we do now and the stories we tell now will last for generations. I think people watch The Chosen 50 years from now, 100 years from now. So I'm just so grateful. I'm so excited. I can't wait to get back to work with all of my friends. And this is an actor's dream to tell a story that touches so many lives.
Awesome. That's awesome. Thank you. One quick thing, because a question came up while you were chatting. By the way, we've gotten lots of comments of people just saying how incredible of work you do and how much they love your performance. But a quick question came from Dawn, where she just said, is there a character in the show that you would love to have a scene with that you haven't yet? And then we'll
there are so many incredible talents on our show. I geeked out when I met Brandon, who plays Quintus. I had to go up and shake his hand because I just love his work. I constantly tell Liz how much I love her as Mary, and so, but we've got so many incredible actors. I think it would be really fun in a scene for some random reason for me and Quintus to have an interaction, but that probably makes no sense. But Brandon is somebody who I just watch, and I can't wait to see what he does next. So awesome. I think it'd probably be Quintus.
Cool. Well, thank you, Sean. Can't wait to see you soon, brother. Love working with you. And
thank you, everybody.
Lot to come for future seasons with you, brother.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Have fun tonight.
Yep. Okay. So here's another quote unquote announcement here. This is kind of the second thing that I wanted to share with you tonight. And after we share this, we'll take some more Q&A, and then we'll be bringing on Jordan Walker Ross. But this is, there is a new app. Okay. So think about what this means for a second. Right now, if you have a Roku, you can find The Chosen app on Roku. Yes. So we are now in the stage where Roku, Apple TV, Fire Stick are close to getting The Chosen app native to those platforms. So what that means is right now you have to pull it up on your phone, and you pull up your phone and you click on the cast to the TV button, and it pulls up your Roku, and you can connect to your Roku. Well, as of this moment, you can right now on your Roku search for Angel Studios, and you will find The Chosen app. Eventually, when you'll just need to search for The Chosen, and you'll be able to find it. But did you know that last year, this is really cool. Last year, at the end of the year, Roku had their kind of end of year show where they're like talking through the most successful shows and all the great platforms that they have. And they said these were the top 5 things searched on Roku in 2021. Number 1 was Yellowstone. Number 2 was SpongeBob SquarePants. Number 3 was Harry Potter. Number 4 was Halloween. And number 5 was dun, da, 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 The Chosen. The Chosen was the 5th most searched project in the entire Roku platform last year. And what do they get when they search for it? Well, season 1 is on a couple of platforms already, but they wouldn't have found it on a Chosen app or on an Angel app. Now you can. So we're going to show you a video of a special friend of mine who just the other day recorded himself getting onto the Roku app to talk through how difficult it really is to find it on Roku. Let's play that video now.
All right, don't mind me. I'm just trying to get The Chosen on my Roku TV. I wonder how difficult it's going to be. Oh, wait, it's super easy. I literally just did it in 2 seconds. Okay, so go to the search tab on Roku. You will be typing Angel Studios. Boom, right there. With our friend Eric. Press that sweet, sweet add channel. Oh, who's that? I didn't even do that. That's just what came up. Yeah. Really is that easy. So the next step is just find yourself a comfy couch. Get ready to binge.
That was both awesome and a little disturbing. So that was Noah James, who plays Andrew, of course, and it is that easy. So here's why this is important. 2 reasons. Number 1, this is a significant step forward in the show. There are people who, whether because they couldn't, because they're just not tech savvy, or because they just didn't want to because it was clunky or whatever. I mean, I think Angel has done an extraordinary job of making it as easy as possible to cast on your TV. But I'm, and I was able to do it, and I'm tech struggling. But not a lot of people want to be on their phone while they're watching TV, meaning that the phone app has to remain on. So you can find the Roku, the Angel app on Roku through your phone still. So if you click on that button, it will take you to that app, and you can to the Angel app on Roku, and then you won't need to use your phone again, or you can just do it natively through Roku. But this is significant because now it's going to be found by millions of more people who might not have downloaded the app to their phone. It's going to be much easier for people who are a little less tech savvy. So this is a significant step forward, and it's going to be happening on other platforms very soon as well. I want to just respond to some of the more commonly asked questions about this. Obviously, how can I get the Roku app? So again, you can search for it in Roku or connect through your phone if you want to do that. Now, we are also working on getting listed in their search so that The Chosen seasons 1 and 2 are available through our app. Since we only just released the Roku channel, it takes some time for all of our content to appear in their search. The app will soon be available by just searching for The Chosen. It may take a week or 2. So things are developing over time. Okay, thank you. Linda and Annette just paid it forward $1,000 a piece. So that's really awesome. So she just got that note. So thank you for that, Linda and Annette. We really appreciate that. If you could just shift it this way so I can see better. Thank you. Anyway, yeah, Julie, just wrote on my whiteboard that Linda and Annette did that. So thank you so much for that. Appreciate that. So be patient. These things take time, but here's why I'm telling you. We haven't publicly announced this yet, other than just what I just did. But we're not making a huge push for this yet because the app is still going to have some kinks to work out. We want you to work out those kinks, meaning we want you to experience it. So you use the app, and if there's an issue, then you can contact support through the Chosen app. So you just pull up the Chosen app on your phone. There's a help button. You can say, "Look, this is what's happening," or "This was a glitch," or whatever. Don't yet contact them to say, well, there's not season 2. We know that. So there's things that will take time to develop, but this is so cool that The Chosen now exists on Roku natively and will soon, within the next couple of weeks, hopefully exist natively on Apple TV and Fire Stick. You will no longer have to use your phone to connect. That is awesome. And that is a significant step forward for the show. That means many, many more people finding it, many, many more people using it who've found it but don't want to use it through their phone. This is big. Now, once again, though, I do have to bring you back to what I talked about earlier. When it is on the native Roku or Apple TV or Fire Stick platforms, that means, especially initially, there's no pay it forward option there. Now, that will change over time, but even once it changes, it will be a little less easy to do it there than on your phone. On your phone, it's, you're already connected to your Apple Pay or Google Pay or whatever it is. But on the app, how often have you watched something on Roku or Apple TV or whatever and purchased something or paid it forward with your TV remote? It's more rare. So this will likely mean a lot more viewers, but a lower percentage of viewers who are paying it forward. So again, with all this great news comes like the sobering news of, oh, okay, well, more viewers, but we gotta pay for this. And this is taking some people away from their phones and towards the native app on the platform. And they might not be getting notifications from us. They might not be getting emails from us. They might be less inclined to pay it forward in this model than the other model. So that's another reason why it is vital. If you can, if you feel led to, if you want us to continue to grow and to expand our efforts, to pay it forward when you can. All right. I want to bring out Jordan. Hi, Jordan.
Hello.
So,
How you doing? Do I need a booster seat?
no, but I surprised Colin, I think, by bringing Jordan out just now. So this is me, and Jordan, Colin, is this the mic he's going to use? Yep. Is it working?
Sound okay? Good.
Yes. So hi, Jordan.
Hello.
You've been listening to all of this so
I
far.
have, yes.
Are you excited about season 3?
Yes, very much so.
Why?
Because
you're an actor in the show. It's answer number one. I can answer that for you.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's almost like going back to school, like after summer break, getting to see all of your friends again. So getting to just be with our chosen family, because it really is like a family, is the thing that right off the bat I'm excited about. We talk almost every day in the group chat about how excited we are to be together again. So that obviously, and then just to see what's next for not just little James, but the rest of all of the characters.
Yes, and I know that in the group chat sometimes, which is lovely, but every now and then I'll say something, and then we'll start getting texts or emails from people who from the group chat were like, "I heard we're delaying again," or
right,
"I heard,"
yeah,
and I'm like, "I didn't say that." So you got to help me out sometimes in those group chats.
I will.
Like, moderating a little bit, because I know people can get scared sometimes. So sometimes we got to make sure that the group chat is like a calming,
positive place. Yeah.
I know I'm being lighthearted, but yeah, I know that you guys, what people sometimes don't understand when they say things like, "I'm so eager for season 3." Mm-hmm. You guys are like, no one's more eager for season 3 than us, because this is our livelihoods.
Yeah.
And so every delay that happens, or every time that we are pinched in any way, there's not only a financial cost to it, but like for you guys in many ways, you plan ahead, knowing, okay, we're hoping to shoot in April. We don't know for certain, but we have to start planning our lives for that.
We can't accept certain jobs that might be conflicting with that and stuff like that. Yeah.
So what I wanted to know is little James in season 2, episode 3, we talked about, there's that scene in episode 3 where he's talking to Thomas, and he is expressing what as Thomas calls it, a malady. Share what exactly your malady is. Back then they wouldn't have had this kind of this kind of diagnosis.
Right. I have cerebral palsy and scoliosis. I was born 2 months early. So it caused some medical issues. And I've had 8 major surgeries. I think I'm pretty much done with the surgeries, hopefully. But so that's my specific malady.
8 major surgeries that don't, of course, remove cerebral palsy or scoliosis.
No,
they
just straighten.
Allow you to somehow manage it.
Yes. Yeah.
And you've got actually a podcast. And talk about your podcast real quick, because I know it's called "What's Your Limp?"
Yeah,
and it comes from what I know of you, which is the fact that you are not someone who said, "Well, this is my lot in life. I guess I'm just going to be in a wheelchair and work from home."
Yeah. So it's called "What's Your Limp?" And essentially, I interview other people. Some have disabilities as well, but most of them are public figures, whether they're actors, athletes, whatever. And I talk to them about their limps, because I believe we all have a limp, whether it's physical or internal. One of mine just happens to be physical. And you actually helped me a lot in this show by embracing that about me, because before it was the thing I was most insecure about. I had been cut out of projects because it was too noticeable. I had been told by people to tone the limp down or lose the limp. So you embracing it and making it part of who little James is. So I didn't feel like I have to hide it. Now I can just focus on acting and being little James. That made a huge difference. And I realized the more I talked about it and the more I embraced it, the more confident I was, the more I was able to love myself. And the goal is to help other people, do the same.
Well, when I cast you, so you came in, I remember the first time I met you was in an audition. We had a callback and you walked in, and I hadn't seen in the audition that you'd done via video, because it's probably way
just
up.
Sitting.
So I hadn't seen that. And you walked in, I thought, okay, this is interesting. He walks different than other actors who are auditioning for this role. And
interesting
then
choice.
Yes. And you, exactly. Like, hey, could you maybe tone that down for this character? I mean, it's and I thought, well, he's a really good actor, number one. So I want him in the show. So that, number one, I want him in the show. What do we do with this? Having a disciple who's disabled. Are you uncomfortable with that term? Or do you,
no. That's.
And we just got a comment. Jordan, love the passion and faith you bring to James. Your facial expressions and talent bring a great compassion and life to the role.
Thank you.
Yes. And that is absolutely true. And I thought, well, I want this guy in the show. I want him to play little James. And here's what we're doing. I'm painting myself into a corner, not because of working with you, because you're great. It's theologically and gospel wise. How do we address the notion that Jesus healed so many people, and we're going to have a character played by someone with your condition who in this lifetime probably won't be healed? I mean, obviously anything's possible, but God doesn't heal everybody. And in many ways that can be a way to draw you closer to God in some way. But I'm just saying, unlikely you're going to be healed in the next 5 years.
Right.
So that means little James isn't going to be healed in the next 5 years. And so in episode 3, when we address that, season 3, we're going to actually get into it. And I'm curious, like, you haven't read the script yet, but I gave you a heads up. I said, little James is going to actually ask Jesus, okay, what's the deal here?
Yeah.
Because there's a famous story in the Gospels where Jesus sent out disciples 2 by 2 for a period of time where they were healing and casting out demons and doing miracles and spreading the gospel, doing all of the things that Jesus can do. And this is for this like specific period of time. So he's asking little James, go heal. And little James in episode 2, I believe, of season 2 goes, okay, I will, but hint, hint. What about me? And so I'm curious, just from Jordan's perspective, on the concept of healing, and that you haven't been healed, and some people are. And as little James, seeing healings and not being. I'm just curious your thoughts on that issue.
If I recall, I think you asked me a little while ago, like, or whenever you initially brought up the idea of including my disability in the character, you had mentioned, like, and you asked if I would even want to be healed, like me personally, me Jordan. And if you would ask me this when I was 15 and getting bullied every day, I would have said, yes, sign me up. I want to be 6 feet tall, walk straight, and all that stuff. But now, having seen how I can use that to help other people, and even within my career now embracing it, it's given me an advantage at times, because the fact that I lead with it, I've noticed casting directors or producers or whoever being like, oh yeah, that guy with the limp, like it's not the elephant in the room anymore. It's this positive thing. So I think the idea that, like, you're not necessarily broken and you don't always need the type of healing you think you do. I think that it's been very therapeutic getting to explore that through little James, because it's like little James is a few steps behind myself in that process of, like, accepting and loving himself. So I used to view myself as broken, but I don't anymore. Now I see it as a strength and not a weakness.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's humbling. And I told you this last year, that you were an inspiration to me in so many ways, by how you have not only this talent and hard work that you brought to the role, but the grit that you have overcome what you've overcome. And I mean, it's just, it really is inspirational. Julie, would you mind bringing up the question you brought up 2 comments ago? I think someone asked about his favorite scene. Yeah, I don't remember. So I don't remember who asked it, but just, yeah, if there's a question up, I'll get to it in a second, and you can leave it up so I can remember it, because I'm not always good at remembering those. So
my favorite scene, probably it would be, I mean, the scene with Thomas that we had mentioned, doing that long one shot was so much fun.
And that came in like 10 minutes into the scene. It was like one of the final conversations. And by that point, the camera guy was
literally shaking
because it was such a long take. And yeah, that was,
we didn't often get to our like moment in the scene either, because we kept having to cut. But that, and then the opening of season 2, where we're all slightly aged and just seeing some of my best friends older, and like we're acting like we had just left the funeral of another one of our friends. It was so emotional. That was the first time in my career that I've had a scene where I've specifically had to cry. And I remember, because in the script it says I was on my way to Jerusalem, but it cuts off and I'm supposed to start crying at that word. So I was like, man, how am I going to do that 10 times? But as soon as I got in that room, it was like it happened immediately. And I remember after the first take, you had to come over and just kind of put your hand on my face, and you were like, not yet. And I had to like pull it back, but it came out every time, just because of how the energy in that room. We were all just so focused, and it was emotional. That was like a really, really powerful moment.
Yeah, and your scene partners in that were Giovanni and George, who I know are good friends of yours. And we have a cast that, like, a lot of times on a lot of shows, there's actors who are maybe more selfish. So where they'll give their all when the camera's on them, like Jonathan. Yeah, they'll give their all when the camera's on them, and then when it comes time for the other person's part and they're off camera, they're not giving their all.
Yeah.
And why it's funny that you mentioned Jonathan is because Jonathan is one of those actors, and in fact, this is true of pretty much every actor we've got, puts everything into his off camera.
Yeah.
And George was doing that too. We really were. I think the actors were creating a setting in which it felt like you were actually there.
Yeah, it really did.
Yeah. Lori says, I'm the mom of a disabled son. Thank you for bringing disabilities into the show. Jordan, thank you. God bless all of you. And that's the key for the show, is the diversity, not just of race, which you see between the Jews and the Israelites and the Romans and people from other countries, but also what we like to call neurological diversity, why you have someone like Matthew, who's on the autism spectrum, or physical diversity, where you have someone like yourself. And we're really trying to show, and because this is accurate, it's not something we're doing for political reasons. We're doing it because Jesus spread the word to so many different regions and encountered so many different types of people. And his message and his gospel was for everyone. And I think it's cool on our show, there are people who are like yourself watching going, oh, Jesus can call me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. One last thing before we let you go. Question from Ari, I believe, or Ari. Little James, what is your favorite thing about playing a disciple?
I think specifically with Little James, he's one of the lesser known disciples. There's not a whole lot known about him. There's some stories and traditions that like he was a singer and things like that you can kind of piece a little bit together, but getting to bring life to a person and a character that hasn't really, I don't think there's ever been another Little James portrayed in any TV or TV show or film. So getting to, unless like maybe just kind of
or at least certainly not one with a personality and things to say.
Just another bearded guy that, will chime in every now and then. So getting to really flesh out Little James and bring him to life for the first time is, it's an honor. It's really, really exciting. So yeah, probably that.
Well, thank you, Jordan.
Thank you.
It's always good to see you. And
you.
We are going to see you soon on set.
Yes, I can't wait.
We are hoping desperately to stay on schedule. We plan on starting filming again, end of April, early May at the latest. And I don't know if you'll be up first, but you'll be up early.
Yeah.
And we'll get right back into it.
Can't wait.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
No problem.
All right.
Bye.
All right. So real quick, we got a couple of names of people who have just come across to me who have paid it forward over $500, which is really cool. Amy, Bob, Patty, Terry, Dave, and Mike. Thank you so much. I'm sure there's more, but thank you so much for paying it forward. As I've been talking about all tonight so far, is we are in a situation where we right now our reach is extending. What's the phrase? Our reach is reach is extending our grasp. What's the? Yeah, there's a phrase that
out of our.
yes, our reach surpasses our grasp, meaning we're trying to go do more, but we can't. We can only grasp. And someone in the comments is correcting me right now. But I think it's his reach extends his grasp. I think that's the thing. It's like it's farther than his grasp can be. And that's where we're at, where we're trying to get this show to the world, as many people as possible. And we don't have currently the capacity to do so. All right. So I'm going to bring on Kristen, because we're going to introduce a video here. And we've got more to come. So stick around because Kristen. Hi, Kristen.
Hi there.
Look, we're twinsies.
Oh my gosh. It's
Yeah.
like,
It's
like the Lord told us what to wear today or something.
yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
It's that important. It's that important.
Now that I'm here, you can actually head out. I'll take over.
Yeah, no, that's not
No,
gonna happen.
okay.
Okay. But yeah, these are sometimes you got to stir up the water, our latest apparel, which we introduced last month. We're about to show a video that you are in, by the way.
Yeah.
And I'm going to change my hoodie just for fun to my other favorite hoodie. But you had an opportunity to visit the set just a couple days ago.
Yeah, it was great.
And so we're going to show this this video in just a second. And when we come back, you'll talk more about what you've seen, and we'll start taking some more questions. And then we'll bring on Jim Cunningham, and who's our production designer. And let's just go ahead and show that video now, and then I'll have you chat about it when we're done.
By the way, that video, it was so cold. It felt like we were back at the Sermon on the Mount again.
It was
almost snowing.
This week in Texas, there were a couple of days where it was below freezing. It was like in the 20s.
Terrible.
And this might have been during your interview.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
We were shivering.
Sorry, not sorry. All right. Well, let's show that video right now, and then we'll come back to you.
Well, hey there. I am here with Tad on
gotta
the
get
set,
better.
on the developing set of The Chosen. And we have some updates for everyone, don't we?
Absolutely. We're staying real busy here.
Yeah.
As you can see, there's a lot that's gone on the last couple of weeks. We've got parts of the framing for the synagogue going up, zip wall going on the outside of that. We're going to be working on that. We've got our walls. All of our masons are working hard, getting things moved in. Over on this side, you can see we're starting to put in all the footings for all of these homes that are coming in here, whether it's Andrew's home or Gaia's home, whatever building it might be. They're all getting put in. Moving over here, you can see that the dock is well on its way to being completed.
So this is for the Sea of Galilee.
For Capernaum,
Yes.
so for Capernaum,
Yep.
those are the docks at Capernaum. They're on the north end of the Sea of Galilee.
So you are working on Capernaum, but you're also working on the soundstage.
Absolutely.
So share a little bit about where we're at in terms of the development of that.
Yeah, so the soundstage and the film complex is actually right across the lake over there. Pretty exciting. We've done a lot of work on that. We're actually working on the additional layers of insulation and mass-loaded vinyl and those things that make the soundstage sound efficient so that the sound doesn't come in, and also there's not a lot of reflective sound in that soundstage. All of our buildings are about 95% right now for the other things, whether it's props, hair and makeup wardrobe, the wood shop, and the multi-purpose building.
So before we send it back to Dallas here, what are some of the next steps for developing Capernaum and the soundstage?
Some really exciting next steps. We may get to see this, but just up the hill here, we've got a wood artist, and what he's doing is he's distressing wood, making it look realistic and old. And those logs that he's working on right now are going to be laid out on the dock to make all the dock planking. And that's really exciting. He's also doing a lot of the specialized doors and windows to give it that first century look. Those are some of the exciting things that we're doing, along with moving on to all the structural steel and light gauge steel in the film campus.
Wow, and once the foundation is set, you will start to build up the actual city.
Correct. Just like with the synagogue, we laid that foundation a couple of weeks ago, and we're already building the structure. Everything will start moving really quickly once all these foundations go in.
Amazing. Well, thank you for your time and for you and your team and your hard work. And we are so excited for season 3 once we get there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So yes, good job, by the way.
Thank you.
So this is Kristen, and she is of Chris and Chris fame. And we brought on Chris and Chris to be kind of the eyes and ears of you. And so one of the cool things about tonight is we do this Q&A where we're taking questions And she has been spending the week figuring out what kind of the most commonly asked questions are.
Right.
And then tonight we'll look for some of those questions that, capture the trends that you see. What would you say before we get into a little bit of that? And then we're going to bring on, I'll have Jim, our production designer, come out. What would you say you came away with most after being on the set? Just like when you were seeing the progress of the set, you just like, you're moving here, right? Like you're here now.
I'm
like,
here
we
now.
brought you on and you're seeing the progress. What are you seeing just as someone who represents the audience? Because you're a fan of the show. That's how you kind of came onto this.
Kind of, yeah.
Thanks so much for
I am.
that. Yeah. But like, what are you seeing being here? Like what has surprised you about the progress of The Chosen or lack thereof?
Well, it's neat because, Jesus, from Nazareth, what good can come from Nazareth? That was the common thing. And now we're in Midlothian. It's like, what good can come from Midlothian? It's not like you're in LA where you're expecting to see different sets and all the progress that way. But way out in the middle of nowhere, there's this gorgeous set being set up and built up. And this team is working so hard. And it's kind of surprising because when I first watched the show a couple of years ago, I didn't know that it would really go so as far as it has now. I didn't think it would be more than a season or two, but now it's such a privilege to be living here in Texas. I'm only 30 minutes away from set. I get to come out here and watch the progress of this incredible, beautiful set, very intricate set. And it's just been a neat experience in the middle of Midlothian, of all places.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it kind of speaks to how the show is. We just
yes,
we came from surprising circumstances and here we are, and now the show is being filmed in surprising circumstances.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, Michael asks, when are you filming the Feeding of the 5,000? So the Feeding of the 5,000 is taking place where?
Here.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I was giving you a really easy question to start with.
Is this a trick question?
Yes.
Yes, it's being filmed here.
Yes. So, but we don't actually know the exact date just yet. I promise you that we are working on that. We're working through the schedule now.
Yeah.
But every day matters. And so if we shift schedule by a day, well, then that might shift the Feeding the 5,000. So, if you are a part of the Feeding of the 5,000, meaning you paid it forward at a certain amount during that period of time, because it hasn't been available for the whole time. It's just been this period of time. Then you should be getting emails from us. And if you aren't getting emails from us about that, and you're fairly confident that you should be, or that you are part of the F5K, as we call it, then make sure that you email through like you just pull up your app, email support, or whatever emails you've ever gotten from us, just respond and say, hey, I thought I was part of this and I'm not, but you should be getting emails from us. And about once a month, we give an update. We should have an update.
So email support at thechosen.tv.
Yes.
If you're not getting
support at thechosen.tv. And that's another way, by the way, to get on our email list. So we want to be able to send you emails. And so that I mentioned earlier, to start an account if you haven't done that yet, but you can also just anytime you want to email support at thechosen.tv, support at thechosen.tv.
Yes, there is one question that's been coming in quite a bit from a lot of people who were gifted a spot at the Feeding of the 5,000. Do we know who they would talk to? Because many of them are asking, hey, somebody gifted their spot to me, but we don't know who to talk to. Would that be maybe they would just email that same email?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, okay. Whoever is sending, they should be getting emails from a certain email address. I don't think it's support, but if you haven't gotten that, or if you're just wondering and you can't just hit reply to the emails you have gotten, and you're trying to start from scratch, then you just email support at thechosen.tv, support at thechosen.tv, and you'll get more information. So I'm going to bring you back in a minute.
Okay.
But I'm going to send you off for a few minutes while I talk to Jim Cunningham, who is our production designer.
Yes.
Yes. And then I will bring you back to take more questions from you.
We'll see you soon.
All right. James Cunningham, come on out. James Richard Cunningham. Oh, look, you're wearing merch.
I know.
Gifts. Sorry.
I feel like I should speak in like a British accent or something.
Yes, because you're James Richard Cunningham.
Yes.
Okay, so scoot over a little bit. So you're more in the middle there. Are you black? You're just disappearing into the background.
I kind of did that purposefully.
Does this represent your heart?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so this guy was my college roommate. Northwestern College in St. Paul, Minnesota. over
A
20
long time
yes,
ago.
Yes, over 20 years ago. And we did theater together.
Mhm.
And then you, on my very first thing I ever directed, which was a short film, you came out and you were just going to work in the production design department, and the production designer didn't show up.
Right.
And like,
And
this
you're
is
like, what do you want? Do you want to do this? And I'm like, I don't even know what it means.
yeah, but you're the production designer now. And
Right.
so Jim was production designer, and let's talk about, and then you've been on every project I've done since then,
True.
including now The Chosen, your favorite.
No, just kidding.
Yeah. What does a production designer do? What is your role?
So a production designer is I basically design the look of the show. So anything you see like sets, well, not costumes and makeup, but
Yeah, what's interesting, it used to be. So back in
Right.
like early days of film, the production designer supervised the wardrobe, supervised the prop, supervised like everything that came in front of the camera.
right.
It has now shifted to where wardrobe has a lot more autonomy. They do the designing, but they do talk to you about colors and stuff like that.
Yeah, I still do talk to Leila a lot. And if there are things that I do want to see,
Yeah.
I usually go to you and Leila about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, anything like the actors touch or sit on or the whole world around it. So
Yeah.
I'm given the script and then we break it down and then we create the world of The Chosen. So
Yeah.
it's
And then you come and say, there's not nearly enough money for
no,
everything that
for
needs
this
to be done.
120 sets that you've given me.
Yes. Yeah. These 40 extra pages all have sets in them. Interesting.
They all take new things.
Yes. Yes. We're not
What
using.
was your comment the other day? You don't have. You can use the same table over and over again, can't you?
Yes. Just change the tablecloth. No one will notice. So this from Naya here. Thank you, James, for all you do for the show. What's been the toughest thing you've done for the show?
Oh, geez.
Yeah. How long do you have?
Oh my God. I'm trying to think.
What is what would you say was
Actually,
the most stressed you've ever been thinking, I don't know if we're going to be able to pull this off?
I think it was in 1 through 4. The Miracle of the Fish was by far our art director Matt, and I think it was the first day that we started. I said, you need to find a boat and you need to find a fish, and it was the week before, and a couple weeks before we didn't have boats, so we had boats made, and literally the morning that they were supposed to shoot, we didn't know they floated. It was 4 a.m. My hands were freezing. They pulled the boats off, they put them together, and lo and behold, they did float. And so we were painting it and dressing it that morning. And so then the fish was probably the most difficult. And we had bought a bunch of fish. They showed up, and the Humane Society that morning said we can't use them. And so it was a nightmare. So I think that out of all of them was probably the worst.
What would you say was the best? What's the set you look back on and you go, everything worked well from the beginning. It was exactly what I hoped it would be, or better.
Actually, I'd have to say it was the Pool of Bethesda. It actually was a set that I had a little bit of an idea that we wanted to do too, but once we started doing it and started putting it together, it started turning into this thing that it was better than I had anticipated it was going to be. It was a big set, and but I think overall, I think that turned out to be one of my favorites.
Yeah, you didn't build the pool, but you decorated the heck out of it,
right?
And that's a lot of it too. You supervise the art director who draws a lot of this stuff and helps design it pictorially so we can make it right. So that's Jeff Stabler, who does an amazing job. But you're also supervising the teams that dress the set and the props, like the props department reports to you essentially, because you're the one who's telling them this is what I want to see and it needs to match all this. And what's the most difficult part about that? I mean, you're essentially, did you know when you got into this business, you were not only going to be designing things, but actually a boss of a significantly large department?
No, I had no idea.
Yeah.
I never thought I was going to be doing this. I remember that first day we were on set, that first movie, we all were in a circle that morning, and you were like, everybody wants your name and what your job is. And I remember you were standing there and I said, what is the name of my title again? And you were like, it's production designer. I was like, oh yeah. But so this literally is a dream job. I literally had no idea that this was what I was going to be doing for life. I mean, a lot of the jobs that I had up to this point kind of turned into, all led to this, but I never thought I'd be doing this.
So I have 2 more questions for you. One, which comes from Jeff here. Are there plans to reuse the sets that were previously used? So that's something we joke about, where it's like, sometimes there are things that you just repurpose for set dressings that you repurpose for new sets. But like when you build a set that's on the sound stage, then you take it down, but we know we're going to be using it in a future season, like Simon's house, for example.
Right.
But like, what are some of the sets that we've used in the past that you plan on using again?
We're going to actually this season, because we have so much to do this season, we're building a city and all the other sets that you've created. We're actually going to be reusing most of the sets that we had last season that were on the soundstage. So like the catacombs are going to be another set. You'll have
the catacombs would have been the beginning of episode 4 of season 2 when you see Simon Z in training.
Correct.
And that kind of, looked like a dungeon.
Right.
So that was a set that was built for that purpose, but we're not going to the catacombs again,
No.
but you're using those walls and all
Correct.
the structure for that.
And then we're also going to be reusing Nadim's living room or dining room and his bedroom that Jesus and was it James and John were sleeping in.
Yeah, so that's in episode 1 of season 2 when they're staying at Fotina's house. So Fotina's the woman at the well and her wealthy older husband. They're in that house where we've got them waking up in that big bedroom, and then they're eating together around. So those are 2 big rooms that you guys built. We're reusing those.
And the Nomad we're going to completely gut and turn into something else.
So the Nomad was the bar that
Mary Magdalene
went back to where she was when she was struggling with her old demons.
Yes.
You built this. That was on a soundstage in Texas.
Yeah.
And so you're going to reuse those elements in something completely new. Yeah. So one last thing. We heard from Tad. Tad is the guy in that interview conversation with Kristen. Tad is the guy who's overseeing the building project. He's the contractor essentially. But this is ultimately your vision, our vision, you and Jeff, who designed it. Where are we at? What is the thing, when I came on and I said, look, one of the biggest stresses we've had has been this set. And by the way, this set is not being built by pay it forward money. So some of you may think, well, why build this whole new set? That could save us some money by not doing that. It's actually not being built by pay it forward money. It's being built by outside money. It's a long story, but we're going to be actually renting this space from and being able to use it on the Salvation Army property. But this is, outside money along with these, construction teams that are building this thing, both the soundstage and this new Capernaum village. And you're the one who gets to walk out there every day and see the progress.
Yeah.
And or the lack thereof. And so I know that you guys have felt pretty stressed, and I know we've had a lot of people who are praying for you and not recognizing that this is like, when it comes to filming, production design, the art department, the construction department is the center. We're always chasing them around. And so, when we first start filming our first week, they're on to the next spot building it for us. And so there's times when we're filming and we look, next door, and you're building and getting ready for the next day because you couldn't do it until we were done using this particular set. Right. So you never stop. You can never just relax and go, the work is done. Now you can shoot on it. So right now, what is the biggest thing that I think that is causing you the most? I don't know if concern is the right word.
Time, really. Yeah. I mean, we're starting in April, and we've had some big setbacks with weather. Like you said, with COVID, we've had some setbacks. Just logistically with the property we're on, we had some setbacks with just getting the approvals and all that stuff. So, but I did walk out there this afternoon. I hadn't walked out there in 2 weeks. We had because of the snow and some other things that had come up. And the dock actually that we have built in the city is mostly done, except for the platform on it. And the synagogue has got some walls on it now, and some other big walls are coming up. So it was a little more encouraging than 2 weeks ago when I had walked out there. So.
Yes, you walked out there and they weren't able to work at the time because of different approvals that need to be. Right. And you're just like.
I think the most stressful thing is, well, I don't know if it's stressful, but I really have no control over. Yeah. How that goes over there. Usually I can prod my crew a little more or come up with other creative ideas, but this is completely out of my hands. But we've got some amazing contractors and subcontractors helping us out, and they love the project. So I think we're on a good course. I just pray it all keeps going well.
Yeah, and Tad is someone who desperately loves the project and wants to serve God by doing this. And we've every time I go check out the set being built, someone comes up to me and tells me how much they love the show and how thrilled they are to work on it and to contribute to it, and how this is their loaves and fish, and that even when they are delayed, they could go find another gig, but they want
Right.
to stay and work on this till it's
Amazing
finished.
people.
Yeah, we have some great people doing it. So it is a chosen family, and
And amazing people on my team too. I mean, such creative people with big hearts, and they love the project. And
now we're officially in pre-production.
yes,
And I know you're like, could we have delayed a little longer? And we found like we got to get going, which puts more pressure on you than anyone. But let's end on a high note.
yeah.
What scene in The Chosen do you like the most? When you watch it now, it doesn't even have to be one that you're design-wise, but just when you saw it in the final version.
I have to say, it's not one scene; it's one episode, and that would be season 2, episode 4. It was just it was so many departments coming together, and so many scenes, and there was so many sets and so many people and characters, and it was just, when I saw it, I literally wept. It was so beautiful, and just Akis did an amazing job. Everybody did an amazing job. So.
Yeah, the cinematography, the hair and makeup, the wardrobe, the props, the set dressing, the music, the editing. I mean, everything came together. It was like, if you want to know what episode most represents all of the departments at their best, it was episode 4 of season 2 for sure.
It was amazing.
All right, brother.
All right.
This guy he was in my wedding. Like I've known this guy for so long. And so that means we get to have think of how long we've worked together and how long we've been friends.
And we still like each other.
Yeah. So we have the most intense arguments because we know each other the best, and we kind of,
like an old married couple.
Yes, exactly. But we also sometimes just look at each other and go, can you believe what we've been allowed to do? I mean, this guy I remember when we were doing The Shepherd for my church, he comes down from, Wisconsin where he lives, and, we're setting up and holding up walls on a farm just to keep them from blowing over. And now we're seeing this extraordinary set we built. It's really beautiful. So
it's crazy.
All right, brother.
Love you.
Love you. Talk to you soon. All right. So if you are still watching, thank you. It really means a lot because we still have a few more things to cover. I want to get to more of your questions that aren't related to some of our guests. So I'm going to bring Kristen out in just a second for that, but we're going to go through them as fast as I can. Julie will start popping up questions with Kristen here, and we'll just start answering them in just a moment. But again, Jim, the guy that you just heard from, he bears so much weight on this project. If you are a person of prayer, I do ask that you pray for him and for his team. I was just here a couple of days ago, just to go over some of the sets, and little things happen all the time. Like there was a set we were planning on shooting in the first week, and it's not. It turns out that it's not ready. It's not their fault. It was a set from someone else we were going to use, and it had some like decay. It's not ready, and so we have to now find a new spot for it. And there's just so much to get done in the next 2 months that he is responsible for. And it's a lot of pressure, a lot of weight. And once we decide that the train is leaving the station and we're filming, there's no turning back. And his crew is now on the clock, and they're working, and we're chasing them. And it's a very, very stressful position, and it never stops. And so just hope that you lift up Jim and Jeff, his partner in crime, who's the art director, Jeff Stabler, that you'll keep them in your prayers. So we appreciate that. And I'm sure he wouldn't mind, knowing that because of all the reasons why season 3 is going to be more expensive than we planned. He's hoping that we don't have to say, sorry, we're going to have to cut this, or we're going to have to combine sets, or we're going to have to use something different than what you planned or designed because we just can't afford what we're doing. So hopefully you'll keep that in mind as you make your considerations about whether you're paying it forward or not. But again, as always, if you don't want to, no problem. We will find a way. God will make a way for us when we are at the Red Sea. So I want to give you a very quick update. This is, comment just popped up and then popped down. So it looked like it was a DVD comment. Someone in the chat can respond to you. I want to give you this very quick update, and then I'm going to bring in Kristen, and we're going to just do a rock and roll Q&A session. But I just had the opportunity to speak at Liberty University. This is a college in Virginia that's got 20,000 students or so, maybe a little less. Who's counting? But while I had a chance to be there and speak, I was on stage. I got a chance to share the heart of The Chosen. I got a chance to share the story of The Chosen. And I was also there with, and you're seeing some of this behind the scenes footage, but I was there with Lada Silva, who plays Eden, and Liz Tabish, who plays Mary Magdalene, and Noah James, who plays Andrew. And we got to share with all these students. The room was jam packed, as you can see, got to share our hearts, got to share the story of the chosen. And our goal in this is in 2022, we are trying desperately to reach this generation in particular. We're trying to reach everybody, of course, but Generation Z, college students in particular, we are trying to reach them with the chosen in ways, and reaching them is hard because they don't necessarily, most college students aren't on Facebook, which has been probably our #1 social media platform. But look at that line that you can see. These are all people waiting to do a meet and greet with us and to get some things, get some pictures taken. Daryl Eves, my partner, one of the executive producers, had a chance to share with a class. You can see right here, we did a panel discussion for the cinema arts program. There was well over 100 students in the room, a couple hundred students in the room, that we were able to share. And then at the end of the night, and on Friday night, we were able to show a documentary that we're working on that we'll show more of, we'll talk to you more about in future live streams, where it's really extraordinary. I can't wait to show it to you, but we got to show it to these college students and get their feedback on our efforts to Generation Z. This is a generation that I'm passionate about, but more than even me, is Daryl Lee is my partner, who's super passionate about this. And we want to reach this younger generation because if we are in competition with so many streaming platforms and social media platforms and messaging, and the competition for their hearts and minds is fierce. And yet when they do see the chosen, they love it. And it was so moving to see their reaction to us. I didn't expect that from college students, but they were so excited and such big fans of the show. We want to keep that going. And that's one of the things that when I talked to you earlier about marketing, when we take that 25% from Pay It Forward and we put it towards marketing right away, well, a lot of times you put it towards what we would call fertile ground. So you're putting it towards Facebook, which has been a big driver of things for us. And we're putting it in areas where we get the most Pay It Forwards in return, because that allows us to keep going and allows us to keep putting more marketing money into it. But when we want to expand and we want to go to places that aren't as easy, we want to go to platforms that might not have been as successful for other shows like ours, we got to do it anyway. We're that desperate to get to each and every person around the world and in every generation. And sometimes it's not as fertile. It's more challenging. You have to cut through the noise better, which sometimes means you have to spend more money. Sometimes means you have to try different things just to get them to watch the show. And this was a big part of that. And so thank you for your support in allowing us to do something like that. It was really a beautiful time, and Liberty is a great place for us to visit and see. They really took good care of us, and it was great to get that message of the show to those students. So Kristen, come on back and let's take some questions. We're just going to go one at a time here, and I'm going to try to get you, let's see, more into the middle here. So there you go. And then let's scoot in. Yours is too far back, which makes me look like a
giant.
You
kind of are already.
And so what we want to do is Julie and the team, our social media team, have been going through and trying to find the most commonly asked questions, or the questions that are most relevant, and putting them up. And so let's start doing that right now, Julie, if you don't mind. What is a question that we have been that someone has?
So excited.
Chris, how can we help you best?
Oh, that's another Chris.
Chris Kelsey.
Yeah, they're asking you though.
They're asking me?
Yeah.
I'm going to let you answer this one.
How can they help? Well, number one, you can be praying every day for the whole team and for the production and for the building of the set. You can pay it forward if your heart leads you to do that. What else?
So, pay it forward is the financial way, the primary financial way to help.
Yeah.
But also spreading the word. So one of the things we haven't talked about yet is the app. When you pull up the app, and you're on the main watch page, okay? There's a share button, and you click that share button, and it gives you an option to share the app. So you can just literally text someone like a link to the app. And then there's also clips, and you can and it also says, what does it say there?
Show me Spanish videos.
Spanish and Portuguese. So you can, if you have someone who's a Spanish speaker, you can share the videos in Spanish. But this allows you you can actually download that clip to your phone, and then you can post it natively to your social media platform, or you can text it to a friend. But like, this allows you to share these these clips to your social media platforms directly, as opposed to just sharing our posts. So it's going to get more views when you share these clips. But this is a great way to spread the word.
Another way you can do it, you can have your own watch parties. You can have parties with your friends, bring them over. I do that a lot. I love watching the show with lots of different people.
Yeah, and you're not someone who's shy about telling other people about the show.
I love people.
Yeah.
So I go to the grocery store, I go to the gas stations. I tell everyone almost everywhere I go. So that's another way you could do it too.
Great.
All right, next question. Does making from Ron Rubenstein, does making purchases from the gift shop help with production costs?
So do you know the answer to that? Because I did talk about it earlier tonight.
So purchases from the gift shop goes towards I forget exactly. Maybe you need to say it. I'm so cold right now. I can't even think. It feels like I'm on the Sermon on the Mount all over again.
We are in the set. We are on the property of The Chosen in our makeshift studio, and it's not heated. And I love it, but you have the insulation of a squirrel. So you're probably not like, you're not exactly as warm as I am.
I do know the answer to that. Okay. It goes towards the paying of the salaries for the staff. So that
not just salaries, but equipment and all that kind of stuff. So the staff of The Chosen, so that includes you. You are a staff member.
Yes.
So your salary is not paid for by Pay It Forwards. It's paid for by thechosengifts.com and things like this. And so we have now approximately, Julie, how many full-time employees do we have right now?
Probably 30.
I think it's more, but she said 28, but she knows better than I do. So let's just say it's 28, but it's more, increasingly more. That's full-time people, and none of that that is separate from production. Production is when we are making the actual show itself. And so, no, we do not. Now, when we are in a pinch, or let's say we're in a situation where, all right, we gotta we've got an emergency. We've occasionally done that, certainly more in the early years, but we try to avoid that. We try to keep the company separate from the production. And so production is paid for almost entirely by Pay It Forward.
Amazing.
And we do not take Pay It Forward money and put it towards the company. The Chosen company. Daryl is constantly saying this, and of course I agree. Like, paid for money is sacred money, and we tell people exactly where it goes towards, and we're never going to take it and put it towards something else that we have not explicitly told them is going towards, which I said earlier: marketing and production costs and legal and hard costs and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
All right, what's next?
All right, Wanda Enoxen Anderad. I'm so sorry.
She is very Norwegian.
Wow, me too. Did the movie help? I am. My name doesn't sound that way. Did the movie help fund the series? A lot of people are wondering.
Yeah. Yes. So that was, she's referring to the Christmas with the Chosen. And so that is not, it wasn't a movie, first, just to give you the, just so that we're clear. That was the Christmas special we did with the brand new episode. And so yes, we actually, shockingly, we were not planning on this. We actually ended up profiting from that, which is a miracle, because most movies never profit in theaters. You come out in theaters, you try to make enough to share production cost, to kind of cover some things, but you don't even break even usually. It's usually break even in streaming and DVD and all that kind of stuff. And the reaction was so huge that we ended up profiting. So yes, some of that money we immediately put towards cast and crew from like some of our regular actors who are going to be with us in season 3 and stuff like that. Like, we're trying to put some of that towards, and anywhere we can, towards future seasons, because the show is free and most actors will get what's called residuals from like a streaming platform or a network television or DVD sales. So they get residuals from The Chosen from DVD sales and from the occasional streaming platform, but because the show is free, there's not traditional residuals. So anytime we can, we're trying to give them, reward for being in the show. And that was an opportunity even for some who weren't in the movie.
So it's essentially a bonus.
It can be sometimes for future, we kind of apply it towards future season salaries where we can. And then, yes, so some of that is going to go towards future future episodes and
Wonderful.
seasons. But we haven't gotten that money yet, so it'll take time.
All right, Anna B, what resources other than the Bible do you use to help keep The Chosen as historical as possible, especially in the case of the lives of the disciples? Are there books you can recommend or videos?
So that's a really good question. I mean, there's tons and tons. We have a consulting team. So Dr. Doug Huffman and Rabbi Jason Sobel are our primary consultants, along with Father David Guffey, but they provide some of the biblical and historical context. My co-writer Tyler is a biblical historian himself. We use a lot of online resources. Other than the Bible, would you mind keeping that up just a little bit longer, Julie? So she says, especially in the case of the lives of the disciples. So some of that, yes, we do look at some of the books of what's called the Apocrypha, which is these are books that didn't make it into Bible canon. And some of those are very good reasons. So we don't look at those as gospel, but some of that has really interesting information, some of which may or may not be true. We assume a lot of it is true, just didn't quite make it into scripture. And so that there's also Jewish historians who were, that's where we find some of the information about what they wore, because the Bible doesn't say exactly what they wore all the time. I'm getting a phone call right now.
Oh, shoot. You want to get it?
No,
I can.
no, it looks like it's spam. So some of that, there's so many things that were written around the time of the Bible that aren't the Bible that you can still find information and resources from. So in terms of books we recommend, I mean, it's hard to find one, and I'm sure we'll probably suggest one and someone will say it's not good or heretical.
Probably.
But yeah, we use a lot of different resources and online. What's funny is you go online and there are really good resources, but some of which contradict each other. And so, especially when it comes to Jewish history, it's harder because they didn't, not only did they not take pictures back then, I don't know if you knew this.
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
Really?
They weren't taking pictures in the first century, but the Jewish people weren't even doing paintings and drawings, at least especially religious Jews, because they believed that was idolatrous. And so you're not supposed to, it's very, it's usually the Greeks and the Romans where you find most of that kind of stuff. So we got a question here from LJ.
Oh, right. Okay. When we expressed concern about misrepresenting God's character, portraying Jesus as winking twice, why did you ignore us and then complain about our comments publicly to the Duck Dynasty cast? Oh,
okay. So I'll start in the end and work my way backwards. So when I was on the Duck Dynasty podcast, I made a comment, like I was talking about some of the complaints we get, and I made a joke about sometimes I said we occasionally get a complaint about someone who is bothered by Jesus winking. I didn't call out anybody by name. LJ is identifying as one of the people who was one of the complainants. One of the reasons why I made jokes about it, I don't think I complained because it doesn't bother me that much, is because I actually thought it deserves a little bit of a joke. I don't think that's a question that I actually would take very seriously. I think some people who think that Jesus would never have winked are referring to a verse in Proverbs that talks about, that uses, one of the translations uses the term winking in context of people who are deceptive. And so it's like shame and woe to those who are deceptive. And it mentions people who wink. The notion that means you're not supposed to wink ever. And that is, I think, a silly, not I think, it is a silly notion. And so we don't take all questions or comments extremely seriously. And so if you happen to believe that it misrepresents God's character to show Jesus doing a very loving and charming wink at somebody, then we're just going to be on different pages. And so I don't think it at all misrepresents God's character.
That's something I was thinking about today. I was thinking, you know what? Yeah, people, they're like, oh, Jesus didn't do this, or you guys are saying, Jesus did this and that. But it's not really about that as much as it is like what The Chosen is doing is portraying his character and who he really is. I was thinking about that today. I was like, yes, he might not have winked. Maybe he did, but he was probably playful. And that to me has changed the way that I see Jesus as so just involved with my life and joyful. And so, yeah, it might not say it in the Bible, but it is still portraying these characteristics that I think we need to know. I know I've believed a lot of lies about who God is. And so the show has helped me to really break those things down through some of the things we watch.
And there are things that some people, like the person who asked that question, who think that some of the things we portray are not only not necessarily in scripture, but that they actually contradict Jesus's character.
Mm,
And I think that's fair to consider. And our primary goal
yeah,
is to never contradict the character of Jesus or the Gospels.
yeah.
I just think the notion that Jesus winking contradicts his character, I think, is a really silly notion. And so I'm not going to be personally insulting towards anybody, but I am going to sometimes, we just don't take every question and don't take every concern super seriously. And that's not to disrespect the person themselves. I'm sure that people
Right.
have reasons to disagree, but I don't think that we necessarily have to, we don't have the time or the capacity to take every single question. And so occasionally I'll just make a joke about it because I think it's really funny to think that Jesus winking at someone is like a violation of God's character.
Right.
But that said, we don't, we do, of course, love all of our viewers, including those who disagree with us occasionally, but not everything is treated with the same weight.
Right. All right. This is a great question. A lot of people have been asking. Karen Samons says, I love the children in season 1. Will they be returning in future seasons? Oh, I know.
So they did, 2 of them returned in later in season 1, remember.
Mhm.
Here's the problem with we thought about it, and it may happen, it may not. I'm not going to share, of course. But one problem you have to remember is that they are older now.
They're like a foot taller.
Yeah, and so in the timeline of the show, they might have
Yeah.
grown long past how much they'd grow in the timeline of the show,
Mhm.
and so therefore it's a little tougher to cast them again. It would be cool to and we may find a way to do it. But if we don't, that may be one of the reasons, which is
Right.
that they just look significantly older than they did than they would have within the context of the.
Joshua's voice is probably much lower these days than, or not quite yet. He's a little young for that.
Yes.
All right. 70 Acre Studio. Will we get to see the Sermon on the Mount? Will we get to see the Sermon on the Mount?
Yeah. So.
Oh, right.
Okay. So the reason I'm always intrigued by this question, because some people say, "Oh, I thought we were going to see the Sermon on the Mount in episode 8." I'm bummed that we didn't. Well, I think you did actually see a good chunk of the Sermon on the Mount, probably the most famous part, which was the Beatitudes.
Mhm.
You just didn't see them as delivered on the mountaintop or the hillside that we portray Jesus as being on.
Mhm.
But what the question is in season 3, will we see more of Jesus
Yeah.
delivering the Sermon on the Mount?
Mhm.
And you were there
Yes.
for the filming.
Mhm.
I will allow you to answer this question.
There will be no more of the Sermon on the Mount. Yes, there will be. So we
Yes.
spent an entire afternoon filming. There were a number of scenes that we did film. So you will see more,
Yes,
which I'm excited to
Yes,
see too.
we filmed Jesus, Kid Jonathan as Jesus,
Yeah.
delivering more of the Sermon on the Mount
Mhm.
with the crowd there. And
Yes.
so season 3 will pick up where season 2 left off and get you more of the Sermon on the Mount. Not the entire thing. We're not going to just show 30 minutes of Jesus preaching, but we will show you some key moments from the Sermon on the Mount.
Mhm. Wonderful. Okay, Skirls 8. Do you think you will visit other colleges?
I'm sure we will.
Mhm.
Yes, I mean that's again because that's part of our when we have time. That is part of an initiative for sure that we for this year we want to be reaching more people and especially college students. And sometimes the only way to reach them is to actually go to the college.
What about colleges in Canada?
No.
Oh my gosh. I'll try
Loosen
and
some of
convince
your
him otherwise.
get the truckers.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into all that.
Oh, don't get into
Yeah.
everything.
But yes, someday I will go to Canada. And I actually have been to Canada once.
Which part? You probably don't remember. Vancouver,
No, it was the Toronto area.
of course.
Yeah, I've been there once.
Edmonton is probably the best city in the entire country of Canada. So
They're
we'll have
all
to
the same.
check. That's where I'm from.
They're all equally.
All right,
meh.
let's move on before I get so disheartened.
Yeah.
Debbie Savino, question: how do you get everyone to use the same accent? Do you have accent classes?
So we have a specialist, like I'm blanking on the name, dialect coach. So we have dialect coach named Melissa, who does a
Right.
fantastic job. And even those actors who have already acted in the show will come back for like each season to kind of get a refresh and listen to themselves again. And her job is to fine tune the accent for that particular person. So
Right.
there were lots of accents back then, just like there are lots of accents today.
Mhm.
And so when we land on the accent that we want for that person, then she's focused in on that one, not just a one size fits all.
Mm.
So so then when new actors come on board, she's like, all right, are they Middle Eastern? Are they Roman? Are they Greek? Or is this going to be like an African type, like Ethiopian accent?
Mhm.
Or Asian Pacific or Turkish, we try
Right.
to have different accents. And so, we have a coach who then meets with them for usually about an hour or so, and then follows up with some,
Very good. Have you learned the accent yourself?
like I said,
Do you
Kristen,
wanna
there's multiple
share?
accents.
Oh,
so
okay.
I'll
The
just-
Roman, you're the Roman.
I'll just,
right?
yes,
Yeah.
yes, I've got
You know the
Gaius,
Roman accent.
I've got
really
Gaius's
well.
accent down perfect. I've nailed that. I'm just going to say that I've got all of the accents perfectly, and then I'm just not going to prove it.
Great. Okay. Next one. Here we go. Donna Watson. I guess a question I've had is, are the actors under contract to finish the series? Okay, so a lot of people are concerned that some of the actors might not be coming back. I've heard this a lot.
Yeah. So complicated question, and I'm not going to get into all of the details, obviously, because contracts are confidential.
Mhm.
I will say that we do have contracts, yes, for multiple seasons for those actors who are going to be here for the life of the project. And
Mhm.
yet that doesn't necessarily mean that our show is in what's called first position, meaning, so when we say, look, we're going to be starting on this date and you're contracted to show up on this date, for X amount of money and whatnot, then
Mhm.
yes. But sometimes an actor might have another obligation that came before season 3 showed up, or before season 4, for example, because season 4 is not coming till next year.
Mhm.
And so if they, if they get a gig, then of course, hopefully they're going to let us know, and we're going to try to work with it and try to accommodate where we can. But yeah, the hope is, I mean, some of this stuff I can't really talk about, so it's just more
Right.
nuanced. But we anticipate in having our recurring characters around for the life of the show.
So Jesus will be coming back, is what you're saying. He'll be in this next season, Jonathan?
Let's hope. Let's hope he shows
Okay,
up.
Eliza DC,
Yes.
have you ever questioned why the Bible isn't more descriptive? That's a good question. Why are we never told of Jesus smiling, etc.? Is wondering why scripture doesn't give us more something you have ever struggled with? That's a really interesting thought.
Yeah. So what they're referring to is the fact that our show gives a lot of stuff, that personality quirks and all this kind of stuff. And then they're like, well, this isn't in the Bible. Why isn't it in the Bible?
Yes.
So I think an interesting question would be, what reason would a gospel writer have to say that Jesus smiled? So what was the purpose of the Gospels? The purpose of the
Good thought.
Gospels was to show that Jesus was the Son of God and the Messiah. And so they showed as many of his greatest hits. And so when you read the Gospels, most of it is Jesus did this, Jesus said that, for the purpose of proving who he was. Matthew was focused on what we would say, Son of Man. He was, Matthew took the whole first chapter of his book to talk about his lineage. And the Gospel of John, we say, focuses on Jesus as Son of God. And so Luke is more more historically based, so he came in after the fact and was like, all right, I've interviewed a bunch of people. Here's what I've seen. So, but the primary purpose of all of these books is proving Jesus was the Son of God, not proving that he was funny, proving that he had, all of the times that he said hello and came over for dinner. Now we do know that Jesus was funny because we see things like Jesus saying to the Pharisees, for example, I heard this from a scholar the other day, talking about the humor of Jesus when he said, you saw this in episode 6 of season 2, when Jesus encounters the Pharisees who are so upset that Jesus healed on Shabbat.
Oh yeah.
And he talks about, he goes, have you not heard of David, the story of King David? That's actually quite funny. That's him being snarky. He's talking to Pharisees. Of course, they've heard of King David. Of course, they know that story. He would do things like that often. So we can pick up on certain personality traits. But yeah, I think the reason the Bible wasn't more descriptive is because that wasn't the purpose of the Bible. The purpose of the Bible was to show Jesus' greatest hits and prove that he was the Messiah. Purpose of a show is different. I'm not making this show to prove that Jesus was the Messiah. that's a nice result of the show if it happens for some people, but it's not my job. That's between them and God. And the best source to find that out is not the show. It's what, Kristen?
The Bible.
The Bible. Yes.
Yeah.
Very good. And
I
so
zoned out for a minute, but
yes,
the Bible.
yes, the Bible, Dallas.
That was so cool.
Yeah. If you would have hesitated longer, it'd have been like, Kristen, you're not helping. People think we're replacing the Bible.
No, we're not.
No. So the Bible is the best source for that stuff. We are trying to make a show that is entertaining, that is enjoyable, that's fun to watch, that also shows you more of who Jesus is in a different way than what you've seen before. But the ultimate purpose of the Bible is different than the purpose of our show. And that's why I think you're not seeing some of the things that we include.
Yeah, very good. Andrea Newell asked a great question. A lot of people are wondering this. We saw Lazarus in the Messengers. Will we be seeing much of him and his sisters in the upcoming season? A lot of people are wondering about Mary and Martha.
Yeah. So
are you allowed to say that? Probably not.
Yeah, I will say that in upcoming seasons, you will see Lazarus, Mary, and Martha at length. Will you see them in season 3? Maybe.
Oh, that's a great way to answer that question.
Yeah.
Very good.
All I can tell you is that when we do introduce Lazarus and Mary and Martha, it will again be in a different way than what you typically
would
will
expect.
experience. Yeah, it's not like Jesus just shows up and first time he sees Lazarus is when Lazarus comes out of the tomb. That's not the way we do things with The Chosen. We want you to know the people that Jesus is impacting as much as possible. And we know that Jesus wept when he heard about Lazarus. And we know that Mary and Martha spoke to him as though they were close. So we want to show you the before.
I am so excited for that. Great. All right. Faithful Woman of God Bible Studies says, do you enjoy working with all the different faiths, or is it sometimes difficult?
So I assume this means people of all different faiths, or is it sometimes difficult? So yes, of course. I mean, I enjoy working with anyone who is a good person to work with. I mean, you don't have to be of a certain faith to be a jerk.
Right.
And you don't have to be of a certain faith to be a good person to work with. And you certainly don't have to be of a particular faith to work hard for this show and contribute something great to this show and spread it around the world. So I would say to the question of, is it sometimes difficult? It is never difficult to work with someone of a different faith unless they happen to be a difficult person. But their different faith or their different faith background has nothing to do with that. We have people of all faiths who work on the show. We have people of all lack of faiths who work on the show, like atheists and people of, I mean, if you can think of a faith tradition or of the lack of a faith tradition, someone is working on the show from that perspective. And that's never difficult as long as they work hard and they contribute to the show. That's the standard that we want people to meet when they work on our show. The only difficult part that ever happens is in the chat, our social media posts for people who get upset because we're working with someone of a different faith, or they get into a fan club, or they get into the comment section like, I love this show. And then someone says, I'm LDS and I love the show. I'm Catholic and I love the show. I'm evangelical and I love the show. And they go, wait a minute, you're not supposed to be here. Why would you like this show?
Right.
I'm the one who understands, who Jesus is, and you have a different faith. And then they start arguing and squabbling and stop focusing on Jesus. And that's the only difficult part. But for me and for us on the project, all of the best people, most of the best people come from different faith traditions. And it's been a beautiful thing. We have a great team in the cast and crew and in our the Chosen staff. And it's been one of the great joys, I think, of the project actually, is to learn more about some of the other faith traditions and to see the Chosen growing in popularity among different faith traditions that have never before been enjoyed the same things that perhaps evangelical. So I'm an evangelical, you're an evangelical, right? And so when we're focusing on the Jesus of the Gospels, it's been really interesting to see how many different faith traditions have embraced the show. It's been really cool.
All right, let's see. Tina Crimarco, what is your most memorable shot filmed in season 1 and or 2? The fog. No, the fish.
Keep going. Well, the fog, the miracle of the fog, which we talked about in our previous, there's a video on our YouTube channel. If you go to it's the 3 miracles is what it's referring to, and we talked about that shooting when there was such heavy fog we couldn't film, and then the fog cleared in like less than 5 minutes right as we were about to leave. So that was certainly memorable. But I would say, the one shot that we did in season 2, that was also, we also got into more detail in that 3 miracles video, where we were taking you in one shot. It was like 14 minutes long. And that was extraordinary. And it turned out beautifully, and we're really proud of it. That was certainly memorable. I'll never forget the season 1, episode 4, the miracle of the fish. Jim talked about that earlier. That was just pulling that off, and all it took to do that was something else. And some of the most memorable shots usually came when we were the most desperate and not sure what was going to work, and not sure if it was going to work and how we were going to pull it off. And then somehow it got pulled off better than what we expected or anticipated and could do ourselves, which let us know that God was sprinkling some of his I won't call it magic, but some of his blessing onto us to allow us to pull some of those things off.
You should definitely write a book on that one day. All the miracles. Have you ever thought about that?
Yeah.
Have you ever written anything before?
A little bit.
A couple of things?
Yeah. Amanda and I, Amanda's actually in this room. I won't bring her on right now, but she has written, devotional books. And someday we should do a book on what has happened with this show.
Wonderful. Okay. Rosia Martin, when and how did you know that this is your calling in life?
I would say when I was in high school, I saw the movie One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest with Jack Nicholson. Have you even heard of that movie?
Nope. Yeah. I smiled as if I did.
Yeah, I know. I was like,
shoot.
That's a.
Everyone knows now.
That was a. I'm going to expose that right now.
You're way older than me, so I've never even.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue.
So The Chosen. Sorry, I got distracted for a second. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest came out in the 70s. Yes, before you were born. That doesn't mean you can't still watch it. It's still available, starring Jack Nicholson, and it's one of the greatest movies of all time. And I saw it when I was in high school, and as soon as I saw it, I went, whatever that is, I want to do that. That is when I kind of set out on a path towards something like this. And then it was about 10 years later when I felt like God was calling me to do something specific, more towards faith-based filmmaking, faith media, as opposed to just general. It was kind of like, what can you do that others maybe can't do? And also, why do something that others already are? So Hollywood has plenty of other movies that are being made by people who have a different perspective than I do. What's something that I could bring to the table? And that's one of the unique things was my faith. And so kind of giving my career to God happened probably about 10 years ago. So that was, and then the Chosen came as you know, from my movie bombing.
Right. So real quick, going back to that movie that I've never seen, what about it specifically made you say, whatever they're doing, like, I want to do that?
I think God kind of put that on my heart. So sorry, I'm getting.
Are you texting in the middle of a live stream?
Yes, but sorry. So this I think God just really placed it on my heart. Like, I want you doing projects for me.
Oh, okay.
And for my people.
Okay.
And what's funny is, of course, The Chosen is for so many more people than I've ever experienced before, and people of all different faiths and lack of faiths, and people who aren't even believers. And yet it's come from me focusing on a Jesus show, which you'd think would be counterintuitive. Like, oh, Jesus show means only going to be for Christians, but it's been way more than that. So let's just do just a couple more questions, and then we'll wrap things up.
Oh, this is a big one. Lots of people want to know this. Cheryl Emra asks, how are you and your family doing adjusting to Texas life and weather?
Well, in terms of the weather, I mean, we would prefer, I think, traditional seasons. But this is kind of an odd place for weather. But no, we're adjusting lovely. We love Texas. Our kids, our youngest kids, are, of course, they moved in the middle, of their, high school and middle school lives. So that's been challenging, of course, for them. But yeah, we love it here, and I love the people. It's been great.
That's so good.
Yeah, we plan to be here for a little
Have
while.
you experienced any of the big Texas bugs yet?
Like big bugs,
Huge
like literal
bugs.
bugs?
I have. They're disgusting.
Yes.
I don't know if I want to stay
They're-
here, but I think the Lord has me here for a
Yeah,
reason.
yeah,
so.
they're fine. Let's bring in
And
a couple more questions.
All right, Lisa, Sherry, what's your greatest prayer need right now?
So I would say what we've been talking about tonight, which is the fact that right now we are what we would call a Red Sea moment, where the things we have scheduled to do won't happen at our current rate of finances and time. So we made the decision, we're moving forward anyway. And so, we just couldn't delay anymore. And so that creates financing gaps, and it creates time crunches that we currently, if we did it through normal means and we did it at the pace we're currently on financially and schedule wise, we won't make it. So, but we decided to move forward anyway. So that requires
Sounds like a chosen thing to do.
That requires lots of prayer.
Lots of faith, lots of prayer.
All right. So with that, we will close. And we got one more.
Oh, the history bounder asks, who is the biggest goofball on set? George. No.
He's up there.
No, Noah.
Noah's up there for sure. There's just people who have like different personalities. But these, Jordan, you come up here. You tell us. Jordan's here.
I just mentioned Joey, who plays Thomas.
Okay. What makes him the biggest goofball on set?
He's one of those people that, he's always prepared and he always gives a great performance, but no matter what the scene is, like it could be a super emotional scene. And right before we're rolling, he's like cracking jokes. And then as soon as we start rolling, he's able to, get into that place. But Joey, and then George as well. He's someone that you never quite know if he's serious or not, because he's always doing bits and little voices and characters and stuff like that. Those two.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
I saw this question. Janet said, what was the email about you not being a part of The Chosen? This looks like you are still part of it. Was that a scam? I just put that question up just because I think it's funny. I have no idea who that's talking about. And not a scam. And I'm still part of The Chosen. And I don't recall ever saying I wasn't part of The Chosen. So I just thought that was funny. Fabiola Gonzalez, which was the most emotional scene for the set? Oh, that's an interesting question. We'll close with this one. So, and she mentions Nicodemus with Jesus. That scene in episode 7 of season 1 was really emotional between Jesus and Nicodemus, Jonathan and Eric, where we were there for the day. And Nicodemus has this moment where Jesus is calling him and saying, follow me and you'll see more. And Eric just could not get through that answer. And it was just really overwhelming. And then there's that scene moment later where he says, my heart is filled with fear and wonder and can tell me nothing except that I am standing on holy ground. And couldn't say it without weeping. And told me, he was like, I apologize. I just can't get through this line without weeping. And he's like, I'm not sure why. And I said, I think I know why. It was just one of those moments where we have those a lot, where I think the story we're telling, the scene we're showing, the line that's being said is just is transcendent. And it really impacts people on an emotional level. And for sure, the scene where we were filming with the actors 10 years after Jesus's death, the opening of season 2, the actors were all in this place, putting themselves into that position of Jesus has died. Little James was just murdered for his faith. This could potentially happen to us. What does that mean? We're now gathered for his funeral. What is that going to look like? And what does that feel like? And the actors putting themselves in that position really was intense. And so that whole day was kind of a heavy emotional day. So I'm going to wrap up with this. I've got a note here that I wanted to share with you. And if there's more questions, then of course you can always, continue to ask them on social media and reach out to us. But we got, every now and then I love to just share with you the impact of that the show is having, because that's the ultimate goal. So when I talk to you about paying it forward, and when I talk to you about the need for it. It really isn't. I hate doing it from the perspective of, we need money because we have to afford the set. We need money because we have to afford our cast and crew. That's, of course, literally true. And we're in a position right now where we're challenged. But the reason that you pay it forward is more for this. I've watched the show and both seasons over and over again. I don't watch TV, but when I'm in the mood, The Chosen is my go-to. Well, I was watching it last night while my roommates began to arrive home. Out of curiosity, they say to watch it with me during they said they wanted to watch it with me during episode 3. I guess they'd watched 1 or 2 episodes and before they go into their rooms, as they don't like to watch TV typically. And she shows a moment from episode 8 when Jesus is speaking with Nicodemus. We got through the entire season in one night. So they were watching a scene and they got caught wrapped up in it and they ended up watching the whole season in one night. When I asked their opinions the next day, they said it was so different. I had goosebumps. My roommates don't go to church. They don't read or even haven't read the Bible, and said they had connected with every episode. One of them said he's going to watch it with his parents this weekend. Your show has changed my life, and now I'm blessed to share it with others that feel led to share it as well. That's from Ashley. Now, the reason that some of the English was broken is because she's saying she's in another country, and there were some of her roommates who don't read the Bible, and some of them don't even read. And the imagery and as they were walking by, heading to their room because they don't normally watch TV, they caught up with it, it caught their attention, and that is what we're going for, is for impact, and for the fact that, as I mentioned early on, well over 95%. That's a conservative number. Well over 95% of the people who see The Chosen see it for free, and haven't and likely won't pay it forward themselves, which is is a optional payment, and so that's why we do it. And so we could look at that number and go, you know what? We're going to stop. We're going to slow down because not enough people are paying it forward, and so we're going to stick with what we're doing and stay smaller, like we were 2 years ago and even a year ago. I mean, the show is growing so fast, and when these other countries are reaching out to us and saying, what can you help us with social media? Can you do marketing here? We want to share the word about The Chosen. We want to tell people to come and see. And we lack some of the resources. Can you do it? How quickly can you get the translations to us? And we could say, you know what? We just can't. So we're just going to stay where we're at because so few people actually end up paying it forward. And we could do that. Or we could go, you know what? We got to keep growing. We got to keep growing bigger. And we've got to keep these efforts up, and we've got to replicate them in other countries, and we've got to replicate them to other generations and to groups of people who haven't discovered The Chosen quite yet, because we haven't been able to expand our efforts and our marketing efforts just yet. And we could do that, or I could occasionally just come to you on a live stream and say, here's what we're trying to do. Here's what we want to do. If you want to do that with us, here's how. And as I say every time, again, we're not a nonprofit. This is optional payment. This is not a donation. This doesn't give you a tax deduction. It doesn't give you an investment. That happened in season 1. That was an investment. So again, if you're someone who wants to think of this in that way, like a nonprofit, and you only want to donate, then that's fine. You don't need to, and just watch the show for free. Or if you're someone who has an issue with the show, and or you're not sure, or you're questioning where I stand on things, or you saw something I said that you didn't like, or you saw a moment in the show and you're like, well, I don't know that I want to support the show until I see all 7 seasons. So if you want to wait until you see 56 episodes of the show before you feel confident to know that, we stayed within the boundaries of the character and intentions of Jesus in the Gospels, and then you think, you know what, these 56 episodes of the show were worth this much to me, and I want to share it so that I want to contribute something so that the show can continue to expand. That's up to you. And that's why I never say, please pay it forward. That's between you and God to decide. You don't have to. I'm just letting you know where we're at. And as of this moment, this may change someday. Someday we may be in a situation where all the seasons are paid for, and I get to just do live streams with you that are just fun. And I can just tell you all the fun and cool things and the new gifts that we're offering and all that. And that may happen. We may have a situation that arises like that. But as of now, occasionally I just have to come to you and say, here's where we're at. Here's the situation. We're trying to do more than we can currently. And you're going to have to help make that happen by choosing to contribute or to pay in this optional way. So thank you for that. And for those of you who do pay it forward, I thank you. But those of you who don't, I thank you as well for spreading the word about it, for engaging, for following us on social media. Keep that up and continue to spread the word about the show. And again, to just one last thing, to make sure that when you get the app on the phone, that you change your notification settings. So remember, you go to that lower right corner in your app where you see that little Head and Shoulders. You click on that and you make sure that you do get notified by us. And also that gives you an opportunity to start a little account with us. And then you'll be able to start receiving emails from us as well. So that's ways that you can really help us out, because that gives us the opportunity to communicate with you. We won't spam you. We won't bother you. But then you'll have, the more information you have, the more opportunities you have to connect with us, and we have to connect with you, then you won't miss out on some of these opportunities to participate in getting this show out to 1 billion people. We want 1 billion people to know and see the authentic Jesus. And this question just came up, actually. Why don't you allow advertisers and commercials as another source of funds? I don't know, may happen. But right now, the commercials that you see are occasional and rare, but they sometimes come, and it's usually just me talking at the beginning of an episode where I just share with you how you can get involved and how you can help the show. We may be in a situation where eventually we take ads, but I don't know. We're trying to be as customer friendly as possible. And we just want you to enjoy the show. And then if you choose to contribute, you can. And Joe asks, do you ever have doubt? I have doubt in myself sometimes. I have doubt that we can pull off some of the things that need to be pulled off ourselves. But I never doubt that I serve a God who makes mountains move and giants fall and uses songs of praise to shake prison walls. So I speak to my fear and I preach to my doubt, because he's been faithful then and he'll be faithful now. And those are lyrics from the song Faithful Now from Vertical Worship. If you haven't heard that song, it is awesome. And go check it out now. Faithful Now from Vertical Worship. And that's what I do to my doubt. Preach to it. So remember, it is not your job to feed the 5,000. It is only to provide the loaves and fish. Thank you for the loaves and fish that you provide. God bless, and I will talk to you soon.
How is it being back here in Texas? That's kind of
It's cold. It's cold, but it's good.
What they have done for the series The Chosen is a remarkable, even divine undertaking. 2,000 extras. How'd you do it? I mean, how on earth?
Literally tens of millions of people around the world are going to see the work that you've done this year and this season. And I'm very grateful, because you've made me so much better and you've made the show so much better than it could ever be. And I really appreciate it. And that is a wrap on season 2 of The Chosen. We feel the need to get seasons 3 through 7 out to you as soon as possible. Each episode will be released as soon as it's done. I rarely get nervous. Tonight, there's a twinge of nervousness. I gotta be honest with you. This is big. Episode 1 of season 2. I cannot thank you enough. It's the privilege of a lifetime. Let's get to it.
Too soon?
Yay! Episode 2 is here! Remember when I told you that as soon as we had episodes done, we would show them to you? So how about we just show you episode 3 right now?
This has been amazing to The Chosen. We finally meet.
Blessed are the poor in spirit.
Now it's time to get it to 1 billion people.
Everybody I talk to says that The Chosen is superb.
The worldwide phenomenon, millions and millions of download streams. People are loving it. Season 1, Season 2.
In honor of 1 million subscribers.
The phrase Bible preach has become a phrase that Dallas and I say to each other. That's the heart of this show. I love this show. I love this man, but who cares? It's a show. Bible preach.
The winner of the Kayla for Film and Television Impact, The Chosen.
Dallas, did you have any idea that this would be so wildly successful? Because it sounds like Hollywood did not expect it.
Well, no, Hollywood did not see this coming. I actually wonder if they still have not seen it coming yet. What's happening with The Chosen around the world is incredible. As many languages as we can possibly hit, we want to hit. I went to Italy. We were invited by the Vatican to come meet the Pope. This was an extraordinary opportunity to get this show in front of more people. We made a brand new episode of The Chosen. I honestly, I don't know how we did it. The #1 release in the entire country our first night. #1 in the entire country the second night. The last 12 days have been unbelievable. I just want to say thank you for an extraordinary season. I hope and pray that season 2 impacted you. Because a lot of people put so much of their heart and souls into it.
Throw me like a stone in the water, watch the mud rise up. Dress me like a lamb for the slaughter, pour me in your cup. Should've known we'd bring trouble, and trouble gonna find you here. Trouble. I was one way when you found me, I was not the one you see. And the only thing that happened was this stranger in between. And you can say your eyes are open, your hands are clean, till the wind blows in, tuck itself in ways you've never seen. Yeah, trouble. Yeah, trouble. Use me till I'm scraping the bottom, make my well run dry. Shake them coins, I know where you got them. Kiss me bye. I should've known we'd bring trouble. Trouble gonna find you here. Yeah, trouble. I was one way when you found me, I was not the one you see. And the only thing that happened was this stranger in between. You can say your eyes are open, think your hands are clean, till the